education of our children, even the research and development. We were the innovators of the planet. Well, now we're not even in the top 10 for most of their measures. China's just built 18,000 miles of high-speed rail. Have we done a major infrastructure bill? The busiest rail corridor that goes through Delaware and New Jersey from Boston to Washington, D.C. runs half an hour slower than it did in the 60s. We used to have the most college graduates per capita. We're not in the top 10 anymore. And trying to compete in a global knowledge-based economy when other countries, R&D even, we are drafting off of the investments we made. We're not the #1 R&D, public-private investments in R&D country anymore, and in research intensivity. I can go on, but I want to come to this conclusion. We are failing as a body to serve the purposes to which we all care. And the best we can do is blame each other. And each of us are participating in the erosion of this body. And this is just yet another example of that. People here think this is wrong. And I'm not just saying people on our side, because again, the words of my colleagues think this is wrong. And this goose is cooked. But God, I'm appealing right now. I'm one of these folks that during times like this, maybe heckling back and forth with my friends that I text on the other side of this aisle, and I hope they'll never make those public. But I'm appealing right now that we've got to find a way to stop this. The only thing that heals this body is what I call a revival of civic grace. Somewhere along the line, there's going to be a moment, it's coming, I think it's long past, that there has to be acts of heroism when it comes to extending of grace. My friend Mike Lee, I quote you, the only person I'm going to personalize quote except for Kennedy, who yesterday talked about how good of a tight end I was and an athlete I was. But I'm going to quote my friend just because I know you won't take personal affront to me quoting you. You said, "We had the authority to do this." I know you are a student of history, as am I. Some of the greatest acts in American history are when people had the authority to do something and they showed the restraint of power and didn't use that authority. This is one of those moments where that is the kind of grace that can stop the tumbling of this institution further towards what I think will be a real constitutional crisis and will help us to begin to rise together to save this nation. We are now at a point with what we're about to do here, unless my colleagues' resolution somehow passes, where we are going to set another firm foot to the erosion of our institutions. And I'm telling you right now, I hear rational people telling me things like, first time in Supreme Court history that we had the most anti-democratic Supreme Court, because they bring up facts like, hey, this is the president wasn't elected with the majority and confirmed by a Senate that has 10 million less votes, the majority than the minority. That these are anti-democratic things that are happening. We have to stop them. I'm hearing that. That's just in the same way that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, when Hillary Clinton seemed to be the winner, were talking about trying to stop, do things to stop. What has to stop is that. I'm going to end with my favorite point, that you may have had these moments. It was in Iowa, Chuck Grassley. I was running for a stage in a town hall, and I'm about to leap up on the stage, and a big guy sees me. Mr. Chairman, I'm a big guy, former All-American football player. Older I get, the better I was, man. And I'm about to jump up on that stage, and a guy stops me and says, "Dude, I want you to punch Donald Trump in the face." And I looked at him deadpan, and I said, "Dude, that's a felony." I am nowhere near, I'm a shadow of the kind of grace that John McCain showed when somebody was eviscerating Barack Obama personally, and he grabbed the microphone from him and talked about how good of a family person Barack Obama was, not the easy vilification that we often do. I can't imagine for the life of me the current president doing something like that. What this body has to rise to, I hope it's now, is to understand that what this nation needs from us is that grace. And I failed in this, but this has come the moment in American history that we need to show it. I pray that my colleagues, two of them, will join the other two Republicans and stop this from happening. to show that grace now, because this is a point when millions of Americans are suffering and hurting and losing the very idea of what it means to be an American in terms of the dream and the promise of this country. This is the moment that this nation needs from this body actions of grace.
Thank you. Senator Whitehouse, if it's okay, say whatever's on your mind. I would like to dispose of the motion. We do have people that want to give us their view about the judge. If it's okay, after Senator Whitehouse, we'll take up the vote.
Chairman, I'll try to be brief. Let me first say how surprised I am that Senator Kennedy finds us all interesting, because I have operated under the principle for many years that everybody from Louisiana is more interesting than I am. I would like to associate myself, just for the sake of time, particularly with the remarks of Senator Blumenthal, who spoke in a way that I thought was very true and eloquent, and does not need my repetition. I do want to suggest to colleagues that the rule of because we can, which is the rule that is being applied today, is one that leads away from a lot of the traditions and comedies and values that the Senate has long embodied. There are Republican members on this committee of whom I am very fond. But don't think that when you have established the rule of because we can, that should the shoe be on the other foot, you will have any credibility to come to us and say, yeah, I know you can do that, but you shouldn't because of X, Y, or Z. Your credibility to make that argument at any time in the future will die in this room and on that Senate floor if you continue to proceed in this way. I hope that that is not the case. But please don't think that they're two separate rules. That when there is Republican majority, the rule is because we can. And when there is a Democrat majority, the rule is, oh no, you can't do it that way. With respect to Senator Cornyn's questions about why we are concerned, let me associate myself with the description that Senator Coons gave, which I thought was very thorough and complete. I would summarize it by saying we are concerned because of what you have said and what other senators have said in briefs and in public pledges about the Affordable Care Act, about Roe versus Wade, about Obergefell. We are concerned about these things because of what President Trump has said. The man who made the choice and told us that that choice was being made specifically to cover him in an election litigation and to terminate health coverage under the ACA. He's your president. Why should we not take him at his word? You don't answer that question. Your party platform, the Republican Party platform, calls for judges to reverse the Obamacare cases, the Affordable Care Act, that is, Roe versus Wade, and Obergefell, the gay marriage case. We didn't say that that's what your plan was. You said that that's what your plan was. And you said in your party platform that you were going to do it through your judicial appointments. That's how you reverse decisions. You put that threat in play. And I got to say, I've got an awful lot of Rhode Islanders who depend on the Affordable Care Act. I've got a lot of Rhode Islanders who want to have some autonomy over the decisions about their body that Roe versus Wade protects. I've got a lot of Rhode Islanders who either are married to someone of their sex or wish to be and plan to be, or have friends and family members whom they love who either are married to somebody of their same sex or wish to be. So when you put those rights in play, by putting that threat in your party platform, you have no standing to criticize us for taking it seriously. That's what you said. Reverse the Obamacare cases, reverse Roe versus Wade, reverse Obergefell. The last thing that I will say is that while we express our dismay and concern about the significant and disturbing procedural anomalies that are happening in this nomination, all of the last 3 nominations have been characterized by significant and disturbing procedural anomalies. All 3, the Garland to Gorsuch episode, the Kavanaugh confirmation, and now this one. There is a commonality to that that is very disturbing and that suggests the presence of outside forces and interests that are driving these conspicuous, disturbing anomalies. Last weekend, I was at home preparing for this and sitting at a desk with papers all out around me, trying to assemble my thoughts, and I was in a room with the windows closed. And I couldn't feel any breeze. We have pretty good windows in my house, and the wind doesn't blow through them. But I could look out the window. We look out over a pond, and I could see the water on the pond rippling as the wind blew across it. I could see the trees outside bending as the wind blew through the trees. I could see the rushes along the edges of the pond whipping back and forth as the wind blew through them. I didn't need to feel the wind to know that the wind was blowing outside, because the clues were obvious. The clues are obvious that something is happening behind all of these significant and disturbing procedural anomalies. And I, for one, intend to find out exactly what has been going on. It has been going on behind front groups and using anonymous money. That was not, I don't think, what the founding fathers had in mind when they stood up this robust democracy. That big sneaky interests would hide behind phony front groups and use secret money to get their way. That's not what generations of Americans fought and bled and died for. And I make a commitment here that I will spend every effort that I must to get to the bottom of why these anomalies have taken place. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I thought the greatest anomaly I've seen was Kavanaugh, but there's no use looking backward. Let's look forward. The motion by Senator Blumenthal to adjourn the hearing past the election is now before the Senate, and the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Grassley.
No.
Mr. Cornick. Mr. Lee.
No.
Mr. Cruz.
No.
Mr. Sass.
No.
Mr. Hawley.
No.
Mr. Tillis.
No.
Ms. Ernst. No. Mr. Cricco.
No.
Mr. Kennedy.
No.
Mrs. Blackburn.
No.
Mrs. Feinstein.
Aye.
Mr. Leahy.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Durbin.
Aye. Aye.
Ms. Rono. Aye. Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Ms. Harris.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Chairman.
No.
Mr. Chairman, the votes are 10 yeas, 12 nays.
The motion is not agreed to. The business meeting will conclude, and we will now move to our first panel. Thanks to my colleagues for saying what was on your mind in a very eloquent way. And we'll now move on to panel one, the ABA panel.
Mr. Chairman, could I have a point of order first? Well, he's not on the panel. He's sitting behind the panel, but he's been so active there. Yeah. Yeah, how you doing? I better-
So, on this final day of the Amy Coney Barrett Supreme Court confirmation hearing, now taking a break, committee members today will hear from outside witnesses in support and opposed to the nominee. And as you saw this morning, if you've been watching, the committee has been hearing from Senate Democrats who are making last ditch efforts to reject the nominee or the procedure. Now, this afternoon, actually, in this next panel, senators will hear from witnesses again supporting and opposing Judge Barrett. Among the minority witnesses, Kristen Clark, president and executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. And she is expected to talk about the importance of voting rights and other civil rights protected by the Constitution and federal law. While Republicans have a number of supporters testifying, including retired federal judge, including retired federal judge Thomas Griffith. We do expect this to continue in just a couple of moments. Live coverage here on C-SPAN.
Been pro-life for a long time.
In the last 2 days, we've seen a remarkable development. We have seen big tech, we've seen Twitter and Facebook actively interfering in this election in a way that has no precedent in the history of our country. Yesterday, the New York Post broke a story alleging serious corruption of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden concerning Ukraine. The allegations in the New York Post story, if true, indicate that Vice President Biden lied when he said he had never discussed his son's business dealings. That story, once the New York Post broke it, was blocked by Twitter and Facebook. Anyone who attempted to share it was prevented from sharing it on Twitter or Facebook. The New York Post itself, when it attempted to put out its story, was blocked on Twitter and Facebook. The New York Post has the 4th largest circulation of any newspaper in this country. Never before have we seen active censorship of a major press publication with serious allegations of corruption of one of the 2 candidates for president. That was last night. This morning, the story escalated and got even worse. The New York Post broke a second story of a series of emails that indicate yet more corruption. In this instance, the Biden family receiving millions of dollars from communist China government officials. Just minutes ago, I tried to share that story on Twitter. And Twitter is actively blocking right now, this instant, stories from the New York Post alleging corruption and the Biden family receiving millions of dollars from communist China. This is election interference, and we are 19 days out from an election. It has no precedent in the history of democracy. The Senate Judiciary Committee wants to know what the hell is going on. Chairman Lindsey Graham and I have discussed this at length, and the committee today will be noticing a markup on Tuesday to issue a subpoena to Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee next Friday, to come before this committee and the American people and explain why Twitter is abusing their corporate power to silence the press and to cover up allegations of corruption. And let me be clear, I don't know if these New York Post stories are true or not. Those are questions Vice President Biden should answer. But Twitter and Facebook and big tech billionaires don't get to censor political speech and actively interfere in the election. That's what they're doing right now. And so on Tuesday, the Judiciary Committee, the full committee, will be voting on subpoenas to subpoena Jack Dorsey to come before our committee.
Can I ask you a technical question on that? Can the Democrats delay that subpoena?
The Democrats can certainly raise procedural objections. They can try to delay the subpoena. I don't believe they will be successful. We are 19 days out from an election. So if the Democrats were to try to play procedural games to delay the subpoena until after the election that would be obvious and transparently political. Chairman Grant.
Thank you. 2020 can't get any stranger. So they're 19 days out from an election. Again, I don't know if the New York Post article is true. I think it is established that Hunter Biden, while he was visiting China with the vice president, received money from a Chinese bank for investment. I don't know much more about it, but I do know this, that a lot of information, the Steele dossier was all over the place. They never blocked that. All the allegations about Russian collusion and Trump and every other idea that Trump may have done something bad, nobody blocked that. So what we're going to do is we're going to finally have an accounting that's long overdue. These social media platforms have a dominance in our lives. They're newspapers, they're TV stations, they're radio stations, they're publishers. And this to me crystallizes the problem better than anything I could think of for the American people. You may be a Democrat saying, I don't want to hear the New York Post. It could be you tomorrow. So the point is that the power behind these platforms have been taken to a level that truly is dangerous, I think. The stopping Americans who have these tools available to them from exercising their ability to share information with their friends. Nobody in Twitter and social media shut down anything about Trump and Russia. So we're going to proceed Tuesday. Hopefully the Democrats on the committee will be as interested in this as we are, because it's us today, it could be them tomorrow. Thank you.
I want to say that obviously I agree wholeheartedly with the chairman, Senator Cruz. I think taking this action is absolutely necessary. Last night, the subcommittee, my subcommittee on crime and terrorism, invited both Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg to come and testify. I think a subpoena from the Judiciary Committee is absolutely appropriate and in order. It is absolutely vital. We believe in a free press in this country. We also believe in free elections, and the attempt to rig an election, which is what we are seeing here by monopolies, is unprecedented in American history. They have a lot to answer for, and I hope that we'll subpoena both Twitter and Facebook. They should both come. They're both engaged in censorship. They're both massive monopolies. They should answer to the Judiciary Committee. They should answer to the full Senate. They should answer to the American people, and that's what this is about, and I look forward to taking this vote and hearing their testimony to the committee.
She's coming in. Okay. Yeah, to the loop. And the hearing will come to order. Senator Feinstein will be back in a second. We're not going to start until she does. I appreciate our witnesses' patience. The committee did its business, and I appreciate the way in which it was conducted, the respect and the sincerity. And we will now be moving forward. I'll wait till Senator Feinstein gets here, but I'll do the introducing. Our panel includes members of the American Bar Association who are responsible for rating judicial nominations. We have three: Mr. Randall Knoll, partner Butler Snow, Memphis, Tennessee; Ms. Pamela Roberts, partner Bowman and Brook, Columbia, South Carolina. Welcome. And I will allow Senator Grassley now to introduce Mr. Brown.
Yeah, Mr. Brown, as far as I know, will probably not be testifying, but he's consular to these people that are, but I want to recognize him for a more important reason. First of all, a little bit of background. David Brown is here in his capacity as vice chair of the American Bar Association Standing Committee on the Federal Judiciary. He's a partner in a very prestigious Des Moines law firm, Hanson McClintock and Riley. I'm pleased that he's able to be here today, and I welcome him and all the other witnesses to the committee. But in regard to his hard work, I think, as I know him personally, and I've heard him say everything that these members that are on the standing committee of the federal judiciary that review judges, both district, circuit court, and Supreme Court, the time that they have to put in to do it So I know how diligent he is. I don't know whether I could tell you exactly whether he's been doing it for 20 or 30 years, but at least half the time that I've been on this committee, which would be 20 years out of 40 years, I've known him to work very diligently at this. And if he's an example of the lawyers of this country that serve that same capacity, interviewing candidates that are nominated by the President of the United States, they all work very, very hard. So I want to thank David Brown for his hard work. And as he counsels these people today, they probably don't need any counsels, but he's there to help them if they need it. And welcome him and everything else. And since we're getting started 2 hours late at this, and I had made other plans, Mr. Chairman, I want to have permission to put my questions in the record.
Permission granted, and I appreciate your patience. You're invaluable to the committee today.
Thank you.
Senator Coons, so we're waiting on Senator Feinstein. You think it'd be appropriate for them to start, or you want to wait? Is that okay? Let's just wait a minute. Is it okay? Okay, I've been told it's okay. Mr. Knoll.
Thank you, Chairman Graham, and thank you, Member Feinstein, for the opportunity to be here today. It's an honor and a privilege.
Need the red button. Can somebody help Mr. Knoll?
Are we on now? All right.
We're on now.
Thank you, Chairman Graham and Ranking Member Feinstein, for the opportunity to be here today on behalf of the American Bar Association's Standing Committee on the Federal Judiciary. It's an honor to be here to explain to you our process and our evaluation of Judge Barrett. We gave Judge Barrett a rating of well qualified, as you know, our highest rating. For 67 years, the Standing Committee has conducted thorough, nonpartisan, non-ideological, impartial peer reviews of all nominees to the federal courts. We assess the nominees' integrity, their professional competence, and their judicial temperament. The Standing Committee does not propose or recommend nominees. Our sole mission is to evaluate the professional qualifications of a nominee to serve on the court. And we do that through a comprehensive, thorough, fair, and independent peer review, the only one they will get, that entails reaching out to hundreds of lawyers and judges, bar association leaders, deans and academicians and others across the country who have personal, firsthand knowledge of the nominee's professional endeavors that touch upon the nominee's integrity, professional competence, and judicial demeanor. And the information that's given to us by these individuals is done under strict confidence to ensure that the comments that we receive are candid, open, and honest. I'm joined by Pamela Roberts of South Carolina, who is the lead evaluator for this nominee. And we were assisted by our Standing Committee members, a team of stellar lawyers from across the country who are handpicked and whose practices are in the litigation arena and who are deeply committed to the work of a strong judiciary. As you know, David Brown joins us here today, and I can tell you that all of these people work diligently to do what we always aspire to do, and that is to provide a fair and independent rating within the time frame that's established by the Senate Judiciary Committee. To be a nominee to the Supreme Court, one must possess exceptional professional qualifications, and as such, our investigation of a nominee to the Supreme Court is much more extensive than that for other federal courts. In addition to the usual approach of having a lead evaluator conduct and report on the nominee, every member of the committee from his or her own circuit conducts a separate evaluation, which is given to us. And second, while the committee members review the writings and opinions of the nominee, we engage academic reading groups. Here we had 2 academic reading groups, distinguished professors from the law schools of the University of Mississippi and Belmont University, and a 3rd professional reading group that included Supreme Court practitioners and former clerks, among others. There were 34 members of these reading groups. They read the opinions and the writings of the nominee, and they independently evaluated factors such as the judge's analytical abilities, clarity of writing, knowledge of the law, application of the law to the facts, harmonizing a body of law, reasoning, scholarship, and the ability to communicate effectively. And our committee also had the benefit of evaluating Judge Barrett in 2017, when then Professor Barrett was nominated to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, where she now serves as judge. And we interviewed Judge Barrett for over 3.5 hours, Ms. Roberts and we received additional information from her in the interim. The standing committee concluded that Judge Barrett's integrity, judicial temperament, professional competence met the very high standards for appointment to our Supreme Court. Our rating of well qualified reflects the consensus of her peers that know her best. Thank you, Chairman Graham and Ranking Member Feinstein, for your staffs accommodating us to be here today. They were professional and gracious at every turn. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Before we turn to Ms. Roberts, as you know, there's contention on our side about the ABA at times, but as chairman, I always have considered the input to be important, even when I disagree with it. And during my time, we've continued the practice of ABA input, and I hope those who follow me will do so. Ms. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Feinstein, and members of the committee. As my colleague just introduced, I'm Pamela Roberts, and I'm the lead evaluator for the nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to sit as a justice on the Supreme Court of the United States. It is my honor to be here today and to present the testimony on behalf of the committee's evaluation of Judge Barrett's professional qualifications. Let me first start with what the committee did not do. We did not base our rating on or seek to express any view regarding Judge Barrett's philosophy, political affiliation, or ideology. We also did not solicit information as to how Judge Barrett might vote on specific issues or cases that might come before the Supreme Court. Rather, the Standing Committee's evaluation of Judge Barrett is based solely on the comprehensive, nonpartisan, non-ideological peer review of the nominee's integrity, professional competence, and judicial temperament. In evaluating integrity, we consider the nominee's character and general reputation in the legal community, as well as the nominee's industry and diligence. Judge Barrett has earned and enjoys an excellent reputation for integrity and outstanding character. Judges and lawyers alike uniformly extolled the nominee's integrity. We can recount a few comments, such as, she's incredibly honest and forthright. She's exactly who you think she is. Nothing about her is fake. She is good, decent, selfless, and sincere. She is an exemplar of living an integrated life in which her intellect, integrity, and compassion weave the different threads of her life together seamlessly. On the basis of these and many, many other laudatory comments and analysis, we received, through our comprehensive evaluation, the Standing Committee concluded that Judge Barrett possesses the integrity required of a well-qualified rating. Professional competence encompasses such qualities as intellectual capability, judgment, writing, and analytical abilities, knowledge of the law, and breadth of experience. A Supreme Court nominee must possess exceptional professional qualifications, including an especially high degree of legal scholarship, academic talent, analytical and writing abilities, and overall excellence. Judge Barrett's professional competence exceeds these criteria. In our evaluation of Judge Barrett's professional competence, the members of the Standing Committee not only evaluated the reports mentioned by my colleague, by the practitioners and the academic reading groups, but then went further to obtain the views of lawyers, academics, and Judge Barrett's judicial peers. Descriptions of her intellect are captured with comments such as these. She is whip smart. She's highly productive, punctual, and well-prepared. A brilliant writer and thinker. She's quite pragmatic. Judge Barrett is an intellectual giant with people skills and engaging warmth. An amazing student. This came from a professor, obviously, without question, the smartest student I have ever taught. But put it simply, one said, the myth is real. She is a staggering academic mind. Given the breadth, depth, and strength of the feedback we received, the Standing Committee concluded that Judge Barrett had demonstrated professional competence to exceptional and sufficiently outstanding to be rated well qualified. In evaluating her judicial temperament, the Standing Committee considers a nominee's compassion, decisiveness, open-mindedness, courtesy, patience, freedom from bias, and most of all, commitment to equal justice under the law. The following comments provide insight into her demeanor as a jurist. She's always willing to be helpful, engage with others on a topic, even when she has a different philosophy. When she writes a dissent, she is collegial. She's an efficient judge. She is always prepared. At oral argument, she asks insightful questions. There's never a hint of sarcasm in her questioning. She is also a good listener. She has a calm, scholarly temperament. Judge Barrett has demonstrated stellar judicial temperament in all settings and meets the standard of a well-qualified. In conclusion, Judge Barrett meets the highest standards of integrity, professional competence, and judicial temperament. It is the opinion of the ABA Standing Committee on the Federal Judiciary that Judge Barrett is well qualified to serve as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And I, to the extent that the American people could hear what you had to say, I think it would be reassuring in terms of the Bar Associations taking the time and effort to do something this important. We're all grateful. Were either one of you involved in the Justice Kagan Sotomayor confirmation process?
No, sir.
Okay. The reason I mentioned that, the same things that were said today about Judge Barrett were also said about Justice Sotomayor and Kagan, and quite frankly, every other nominee that I've had the pleasure to associate with on the Judiciary Committee. In terms of the three areas that you evaluate, how much time and attention went into this, Ms. Roberts?
On behalf of the entire committee,
Yes, I mean,
thousands of hours.
okay. Mr. Knoll, are you in agreement with the summary given by Ms. Roberts?
Yes, indeed. Yes. Yes.
In terms of, both of you are active in the practice of law?
Except for the last 2.5 weeks.
Well, I can't show favoritism here, Ms. Roberts, but I know you, and it's good to have somebody without an accent come to the committee. Mr. Knoll, are you involved in the practice of law?
I'm a full-time practicing senior partner in my law firm, yes.
Okay, and you have people's personal interest and property rights in your hands as a lawyer, is that correct?
I do, yes.
Same for you, Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
You're very well known in our state, by the way. Simply put, would both of you feel comfortable going before Judge Barrett?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Think
yes,
you
sir.
folks would get a fair shake?
No doubt in my mind.
I would agree with that.
Thank you all. You've done the country an invaluable service. Thank you. Senator Feinstein.
Well, I'd like to say thank you too. One of the things that I've observed over my tenure on the committee is really how extraordinarily valuable the ABA has been. And as a non-lawyer, particularly to me. So I just wanted to be able to say a word of thanks to you. And I hope you keep it coming. We very much welcome your advice, your counsel, and your legal professionalism. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a list of letters supporting the nomination of Judge Barrett I would introduce for the record in this folder. Without objection, Senator Cornett.
Mr. Chairman, I have a letter from the Independent Women's Voice in support of the nominee. I'd ask unanimous consent that it be made part of the record.
Without objection. On our side, would anybody like to say something? You don't have to. Anybody like to ask questions? Senator Kennedy?
I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work and the time you spent on this.
Thank you.
Senator Coons, anyone?
Yes, if I could. Just two questions for you. One on a broader issue of the ABA and its role in confirmation, and then another on diversity in the federal courts. President Trump's named 10 judicial nominees who were subsequently rated by the ABA as not qualified. And by comparison, not a single judicial nominee of the Obama administration was rated as not qualified. And these ratings have led the Assistant AG for the Office of Legal Policy to write in an editorial that the ABA evaluates nominees of Republican presidents more harshly than those of Democratic presidents. Does the ABA take political considerations such as this into account when it provides this committee with ratings?
Thank you, Senator Coons. Our evaluations are done in an apolitical, neutral, impartial way. We do not take into account political affiliation, religious preference, philosophy, or personal views. We focus solely on the professional qualifications to serve.
And if I might add, Senator, that under the two administrations, was a different practice. Under the Obama administration, the ABA process actually goes forward before going to the Senate committee.
Correct.
And so you don't have, it addresses problematic nominees before they're formal nominees.
Correct. One of my repeatedly stated concerns has been racing forward with nominees before we get your input on qualification, which I tend to rely on. One other question, if I might. By nearly every metric, the Trump administration's judicial nominees have been among the least diverse of any president in generations. He's made 50 nominations to the circuit courts, not one of whom was Black. In fact, over his 200 nominations, about 85% have been white and only 25% have been women. Yesterday, in response to a question from Senator Booker, Judge Barrett could not name a single book, study, or law review that in any way addressed racial discrimination and its legacy in American law. I'm not suggesting in any way that that's disqualifying. I'm simply saying that at a time when such books are bestsellers, at a time when this central challenging issue for the United States and for our legal system about how to address, recognize, combat the legacy of racial discrimination, I just wondered if you could briefly speak to the importance of diversity on the bench and in the legal community more broadly.
Senator, we're not here to speak for the American Bar Association. We are the independent body of the Standing Committee on the Federal Judiciary. But in terms of this evaluation and the work that we did, I can share with you that of the hundreds of people that we reached out to who confided in us and gave us their very candid views, we didn't hear a hint of any concern by anyone that this nominee suffers from some kind of malady in terms of
Let me be
discrimination.
specific and clear. I was not intending to imply that in any way. Her failure to respond to Senator Booker's question yesterday with a specific example, I did not mean to imply, suggested any bias. Just it led to me to question whether or not having broader diversity on our courts would bring into the decision-making role those who bring personal insight and experience, and whether or not all who serve on our bench and in Congress should be more aware of this challenge facing our nation.
If I may, Senator, I just would remind the committee that there are 2 questions in the Senate Judicial Questionnaire that the nominees complete that do address diversity. One goes to membership of any organization or club that might discriminate, and the other question goes to a view of diversity and is usually followed up in the face-to-face interview by the evaluator and the nominee. And so there is some intentional discussion about those important issues.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Senator Corning.
Mr. Chairman, it strikes me that the nominee understands diversity, appreciates diversity. She's got 2 children she adopted from Haiti. So I don't think she needs to have anybody preaching to her about the importance of diversity. Her own family is racially diverse. And I think it speaks volumes of about her character and her husband's character for what they have done in terms of adding to their already large family by adopting these 2 children from Haiti.
Okay, anybody else? Senator Cruz.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to thank both of the witnesses for the hard work. I know you put a lot of time into these interviews, and thank you for the thoroughness with which you approached the job, and thank you for relaying to the committee what you found from those interviews. I also wanted to enter into the record a letter from First Liberty, which is a legal organization that defends religious liberty, in which they support the confirmation of Judge Barrett and say in particular that we're confident that Judge Barrett will protect the religious freedoms and constitutional rights of all Americans.
Without objection. Thank you both for the input to the committee, for all the time and effort. Yeah, I think it's invaluable to the committee and the country. And tell General Rives that I said hello. He was my boss when I was in the Air Force. Thank you very much. You're dismissed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second panel.
No, no, and he's to any brow.
It's not working at all.
No.
No.
Take your time.
So, Lindsay, you'll recess for how long?
We'll,
Just so.
yes, for,
An hour?
yeah, 30 minutes probably.
30 minutes.
We'll try to get it done as soon as we can. Are we ready there? Okay, thank you. So here's what I'll do. We have 8 witnesses, 6 are virtual, 2 are with us in person, 4 supporting the nomination, 4 opposed. And we will do it in the order that I call out, but just be patient with me. Dr. Bhatti, Carefree Medical, Lansing, Michigan. Are you with us?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
How do you say your name, sir?
Bhatti is my last name.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bhatti. The Honorable Thomas Griffin, retired judge, U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. Judge, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Kristen Clark, President, Executive Director, Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, Washington, D.C. Ms. Clark?
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you. Professor Prakash, Prakash, James Monroe, Distinguished Professor of Law, University of Virginia School of Law, Charlottesville. Professor, are you with us?
Here.
No, okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. Did I get your name right?
Very much so.
Oh, good. Thank you, sir. Ms. Crystal Good, Charleston, West Virginia. Ms. Good, are you with us?
Yes, Chairman, I'm here.
Okay. Miss Amanda Rauh-Bieri, Associate Miller, Canfield, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yes, Chairman, I'm here.
How do you say your name, ma'am?
It's Rauh-Bieri.
Thank you. Miss Stacy Staggs, Little Lobbyist, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yes, Chairman, I'm here.
Thank you. And last is Miss Laura Wolk. Is that right, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you. From Washington, D.C. So, Dr. Bada, will you please lead us off? You each have 5 minutes and they'll be subject to questioning by the committee. And thank you all for taking the time to attend and give us your input.
Well, thank you, Chairman Graham, and thank you to this committee for welcoming me here. My name is Dr. Farhan Bhatti. I'm a family physician practicing in Lansing, Michigan, and the CEO of a nonprofit, Carefree Medical, which provides medical, dental, and optometry care to low-income, underinsured, and uninsured individuals. I'm also a board member and Michigan State lead for the Committee to Protect Medicare, a national organization of physicians in more than 40 states who want to make sure our patients get the care they need, regardless of financial status. Most of my patients are Medicaid recipients, men and women who work 2, sometimes 3 jobs. Because Michigan expanded Medicaid in 2014 under the Affordable Care Act, more than 750,000 Michiganders can now get the treatment they need. There are countless stories from my daily work I could present, but I will share just 2. The first is a middle-aged male who had a long history of uncontrolled diabetes and who recently acquired Medicaid. Since he wasn't able to afford insulin before getting Medicaid insurance, we tested his blood in our office and found his hemoglobin A1C had risen to 17.5%, when normal is 5.6% or below. An A1C of 17.5 means his blood sugar was averaging 455 milligrams per deciliter. And as a physician, my goal is to have diabetic patients average 150 or less. Blood sugar as high as his, if left untreated, will almost certainly lead to death. Because of the ACA, I was able to start him on an intensive insulin regimen. And within 4 months, his blood sugar dropped more than 200 points. The blurred vision he was experiencing significantly improved. His kidney function improved, and he was able to find a job. The ACA literally saved this man's life. Another story I'd like to share involves a patient with bipolar disorder who was doing well and was stable and healthy until she lost her job and her health insurance due to COVID-19. I had been prescribing a medication that worked wonders to keep her mood stable, but without insurance, that medication costs more than $1,200 per month, which she simply couldn't afford. I tried prescribing older, inexpensive generic medications so she could pay cash for them, hoping we'd find an effective alternative. None of them worked. She developed a severe depressive episode. Her energy and motivation vanished. She gained significant weight because of the side effects of the older generic medications. She had uncontrollable crying spells, and she experienced suicidal ideation. Thanks to Michigan's expansion of Medicaid as allowed under the ACA, my patient's suffering ended because we eventually got her enrolled into Medicaid. We resumed the medication she desperately needed, regulated her dopamine, and stabilized her mood. She can once again contribute to the economy and support herself financially. These are just a fraction of the many positive outcomes of the ACA I have witnessed over the years. Simply put, as a frontline doctor, I witness every day how the ACA has improved, is improving, and will continue to improve the lives of ordinary, hardworking people. For those without health coverage, they live in fear that they are only one illness or one injury away from bankruptcy. Medical bankruptcy in this country is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. It breaks my heart. So during a pandemic that continues to kill 1,000 Americans each day, people need the ACA and the freedom it provides now more than ever. Without the ACA, insurance companies would be able to discriminate against a new generation of people with COVID-19 related pre-existing conditions, and anyone with a pre-existing condition, by refusing to cover them or by raising costs. As a family doctor who cares deeply about my patients, I'm grateful to be here today to advocate for them and for all patients in our great nation. And I'm here to urge against striking down this life-saving law or confirming to the Supreme Court anyone who would seek to do so. As a doctor, I can't talk with expertise about concepts like originalism or textualism. As a doctor, however, I can talk about the real-world harm of ending the ACA to the real-life Americans who have to choose between going to a doctor or buying groceries. And as a physician who engages with other doctors across the nation, I share the concern that any judge who opposes the ACA endangers a lifeline that my patients count on to stay healthy, and in many cases, to stay alive. Thank you again for the opportunity to share my patients' stories with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Judge Griffin.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Feinstein, and members of the committee. From 2005 until last month, I was a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit. But before that, I spent several years and many long hours in the hearing room where you are now as the nonpartisan Senate Legal Counsel. I'm appearing to you virtually, but it's good to be back in a room where I spent so much time working with such great senators. I'm honored by the invitation to speak in support of the confirmation of my friend, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, to the Supreme Court of the United States. As you and the nation has seen during these hearings, Judge Barrett is supremely well qualified to join the other esteemed members of the court. A recent survey found that over 2/3 of the American people believe that Supreme Court justices base their decisions primarily on the law and not on politics. In light of that, there's something deeply disturbing about much of the debate surrounding judicial nominations in our nation. Many political leaders and pundits assume that a judge will cast your vote based on partisan preference. Such explanations, typically made for short-term political gain, do much harm. They undermine public confidence in an independent judiciary, which is the cornerstone of the rule of law. The rule of law is a fragile possibility that should be more carefully safeguarded by our leaders. I agree with the Chief Justice. Quote, "We do not have Obama judges or Trump judges, Bush judges or Clinton judges," he said. "What we have is an extraordinary group of dedicated judges doing their level best to do equal right to those appearing before them." Having served 15 years on the DC Circuit alongside judicial appointees of every president, from Carter to Trump, I have seen firsthand that judges can and do put aside party and politics in a good faith effort to correctly interpret the law. Justice Kagan made the same point at her confirmation hearing. She flatly rejected the idea that difficult cases turn on, quote, "what's in a judge's heart," close quote. Instead, as she put it with her characteristic wit, it's law all the way down. That is precisely the type of jurist Judge Barrett has been. In Price versus City of Chicago, she ruled against pro-life litigants who challenged an ordinance that barred them from approaching women near abortion clinics for the purpose of leafleting, protesting, or counseling. Even though there were substantial arguments under the ordinance that the ordinance violated the First Amendment under an aggressive reading of recent Supreme Court precedent, Judge Barrett joined an opinion that followed binding precedent and upheld the ordinance. She displayed the same impartial approach in rulings that allowed the first federal executions in 17 years to proceed, regardless of her personal views on the death penalty. As constitutional scholar Jonathan Adler pointed out, quote, "These decisions certainly are not in line with church teaching and further suggest that Judge Barrett applies the law, whether or not that coincides with her personal beliefs." Judge Barrett brings something else to her work as a judge that is especially vital to our nation at a time when many regard those with differing views as enemies, not friends. In the words of Judge Lawrence Silberman, my friend and distinguished former colleague on the DC Circuit, for whom Judge Barrett clerked, quote, "Amy combined a powerful analytical ability with an innate kindness and sense of decency." The public record makes clear Judge Barrett's powerful analytical ability. I don't think we can overstate the importance of her kindness and decency. Judge Barrett's colleague at Notre Dame, O. Carter Sneed, says of her, "She genuinely seeks to understand others' arguments. Time and again, I have seen her gently reframe a colleague's arguments to make them stronger, even when she disagreed with them." Professor Lisa Gross-Sun of Brigham Young University observes, quote, "Amy always welcomes the opportunity to learn more from people whose perspectives differ from her own. She's always very generous to other people's arguments." Finally, while some of the discussion about Judge Barrett's faith has been tinged with bigotry, some of it comes from a sincere desire to know whether her faith will dictate her decisions as a justice. As a person of faith who served on the DC Circuit, let me assure you, it will not. The oath that every federal judge must take is intended to transform the citizen into an impartial judge whose loyalty while performing her judicial role is to the Constitution and laws of the United States and not to any president, party, or religion. In taking the oath, the judge makes a solemn promise with God as witness that when acting as a judge, she will be a different person than when she is not acting as a judge. Robert Bolt's portrayal of Thomas More in A Man for All Seasons captures this point simply and powerfully. What is an oath? More asks, but words we speak to God. In other words, for a person of faith, the judicial oath is a promise to the nation and to God that she will not do the one thing her secular critics most fear, reach for outcomes based on her religious worldview. When wearing the robe, there is no conflict between following God and Caesar. It's Caesar all the way down. I thank you for this opportunity and look forward to any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Judge, very much. Ms. Clark.
Chairman Graham, Ranking Member Feinstein, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify in connection with the Supreme Court nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett. My name is Kristen Clark, President and Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, one of the nation's oldest civil rights organizations. Founded in 1963 at the request of President John F. Kennedy, we turn to the courts to protect the civil rights and voting rights of Black people and other communities of color across our nation. We've conducted an exhaustive review of Judge Barrett's writings, speeches, and decisions during her time on the court. Judge Barrett's views are far outside the mainstream, and for evidence of this, one need look no further than her own words before this committee this week. Judge Barrett would not say whether voter intimidation is illegal, though outlawed by Section 11B of the Voting Rights Act and federal criminal laws. Judge Barrett would not concede that voting discrimination still exists, saying she could not endorse that proposition and calling it a very charged issue when questioned about the court's Shelby County versus Holder decision. Even Chief Justice Roberts, the author of that devastating ruling, noted, quote, voting discrimination still exists. No one doubts that. Judge Barrett would not say whether absentee ballots are essential to voting in the pandemic, calling it a matter of policy on which she can't express a view. Judge Barrett has left open the possibility that she would participate in cases that may arise out of the election now underway. It's troubling that she would not recuse herself under these circumstances, and her stance sends a disconcerting message to the 17 million Americans who have voted to date, with millions more to come. These are voters who want their ballots and not an election season court pick to determine the election outcome. Her record reflects the same. In Cantor versus Barr, she suggested the right to vote deserves less protection than the right to own a gun. And that's a radical point of view, no matter what one's view of the Second Amendment. In her words, she described the right to serve on juries and to vote as belonging only to, quote, virtuous citizens. She's made clear that her judicial philosophy has been molded by the late Justice Scalia, who described the Voting Rights Act as, quote, a perpetuation of a racial entitlement. When asked if she agreed with this, she refused to answer. During these hearings, Judge Barrett has gone to great lengths to distance herself from the reality of voter suppression and voting discrimination that we face today. This should sound an alarm to anyone in our country who cares about protecting voting rights for all Americans. In this moment, we're in lower courts fighting efforts to purge voters from the rolls, efforts to shutter polling sites in communities of color, burdensome restrictions such as notary and witness requirements for those casting absentee ballots during the pandemic, and more. and this term the court will decide a case arising out of Arizona, where the issue concerns racial discrimination in voting under both the Constitution and Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Given Judge Barrett's unwillingness to recognize the threats that Black people and communities of color face in voting, I'm deeply concerned about how she would handle this case and many other such cases that will come before the court. A brief word on employment discrimination. Judge Barrett revealed alarming insensitivity to racial harassment in the workplace in Smith versus Illinois Department of Transportation. There she held that a Black traffic patrol driver was not subject to a hostile work environment, even though coworkers frequently subjected him to use of the N-word. Judge Barrett concluded that this was an egregious racial epithet, but concluded that this sort of racial hostility was not enough to prove discrimination. This stance is simply incomprehensible. The nomination of Justice Barrett arises at one of the most tumultuous times in our nation's history. We're wrestling with a pandemic, protests about unconstitutional policing practices, racial injustice, and more. Our nation deserves a justice who is committed to protecting the hard-earned rights of all Americans, particularly our nation's most vulnerable. For these reasons, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law opposes Judge Barrett's nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Professor Prakash?
It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you here today to discuss Judge Barrett. Thank you, Chairman Graham. Thank you, Ranking Member Feinstein and members of the committee. I had the pleasure of working for the great Senator Alan Simpson over the summer, and so I finally remember this building. We heard the ABA rate the judge as well qualified. I think the only reason why she wasn't rated higher is that there is no higher rating by the ABA. I think she's uber qualified. I think, to use a sports metaphor, she's a five-tool athlete. She is brilliant. She's a tremendous educator. She's an institutionalist. She's a role model. And I'll say finally, she's an originalist. And I think that's a good thing. So I'll briefly go over some of these points, and I certainly welcome your questions. With respect to her brilliance, I think her articles reflect a deep appreciation of complex issues and ability to break down those complex issues in a manner that people can understand. I would point you to her article entitled "The Supervisory Power Over the Supreme Court," where she discusses the Supreme Court's assumption of power to prescribe procedural and evidentiary rules in the 1950s over the inferior courts, and how that is problematic given that Congress has occasionally granted the Supreme Court authority to impose rules on the lower courts. And so it's an interesting time where she's basically a nominee to the Supreme Court and criticizing the Supreme Court's conclusions in this regard. I think her discussion of precedent is very nuanced, and I think it reflects a willingness to not overturn the entire constitutional order in order to get things right. She properly notes that judges do not need to reconsider precedent in every case, and I think that is utterly and totally appropriate. But don't just take my word or the word of the ABA. Harvard Law professor Noah Feldman has said she's brilliant, and he also said she's conscientious. I agree with both of those adjectives. As an educator, you know that she's won the Teacher of the Year award 3 separate times, the Distinguished Professor of the Year award, and I think this reflects her attention to students, her care, her evident care for them. But we must never forget that justices and, of course, senators are educating the nation about our nations and laws. And I think that she will carry that task off with ease. As you saw during your testimony here, she's very good at breaking down complex concepts. I think she's an institutionalist, and I think that's reflected in her writing. She cares deeply about America. She does not want to burn the whole place down. And I don't think she'll do anything that brings the Supreme Court into disrepute. And I think she has good company because I think all the justices try their level best, even as they disagree with each other, to understand that each of the justices comes from the right place. As senators today discussed, they have the right values and they have the right instincts. She's a role model. I think Senator Graham has spoken to that at great length, and I won't go into it further. Finally, she's an originalist. Originalists basically believe that the meaning of the law that matters is the meaning at enactment, not what a judge or an executive branch would make with the law later on. And I'm reminded of the Biden condition, named after Senator Joseph Biden. You probably have heard of him. Senator Biden was disturbed by the Reagan administration's reinterpretation of the ABM treaty, and he got this august body to add a condition to the INF treaty, which said the interpretation of the treaty that matters is the interpretation that we jointly had when we consented to your ratification of the treaty. You cannot reinterpret treaties decades later. That is an originalist argument, and I would argue that's what every lawmaker wants, right? Lawmakers craft text, they get it marked up in committee, they take it to the floor. There might be amendments there. They then take it to the conference committee. There might be amendments there. They bring it back. They spend a lot of time thinking about that language, thinking about the context. And then what they don't want is some judge or some executive later on twisting that statute, twisting that enactment to suit some other purposes. And I think the alternative is, of course, the living constitution approach or the living statutory approach. But I don't think that honors you as lawmakers. It really leaves the lawmaking power with the judge or the executive officer. And if you look at our recent history, the living constitution has brought us things like the living presidency, a presidency, I think, that across all parties has acquired powers not granted to it by the Constitution. Think of the war power. Go back and read what Washington and others have said about it. It would shock you. Think about your role in treaties. It's greatly diminished. So I'll end with caution and hope. Originalists and conservatives will be disappointed with Judge Barrett because she will render results that they disagree with politically. That is entirely appropriate. And I'll end with a note of hope. Progressives should be happy because she will give the meaning to the laws that is appropriate at the time that you passed it. And I don't think that she's going to use her position to advance her personal or religious agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor. Ms. Good.
Chairman Graham, Ranking Member Feinstein, members of the committee, thank you for having me. My name is Crystal Good, and I'm a sixth-generation West Virginian, a writer-poet, a small business owner, graduate student at West Virginia University, and an advocate for survivors of sexual abuse. I'm the daughter of a white mother and a Black father, and I'm the proud mother of 3 brilliant children. These identities are all parts of me, but not all of me. Who I am today is only possible because at 16 years old, I had access to an abortion. As a minor in a state with a parental consent requirement, that access was dependent on a judge, because without a shadow of a doubt, I could not trust the adults closest to me. From the ages of 5 until I was 15, I was sexually abused by my white stepfather. He wasn't convicted until 2012, more than 30 years after the abuse began. When I told the grown folks in my life, they didn't believe me at first, and then refused to hold my abuse accountable once the truth was out. Later at 16, while in a relationship that brought me joy and made me feel safe, I, like 2.7 million Americans a year, had an unintended pregnancy. Immediately, I knew I wanted an abortion, a very safe medical procedure that 1 in 4 U.S. women will have in their lifetimes. For many reasons, including the decade of abuse she did not protect me from, I couldn't tell my mother. Instead, I sought a judicial bypass. I had to navigate not only how to get to the judge, but how to do so on a school day. I had no idea what I should wear or what information he would want. I thought I was going to court like on TV, but instead I was ushered into his chambers. It felt very intimidating. I told him I was a good student. I was a leader in my school. I had opportunities that many young women from West Virginia didn't. I wanted to go to college, to be a writer. I said, "Your Honor, I have a future. I choose an abortion." It felt like a miracle. An adult believed me. An authority figure deemed me to be in charge of my own body and my own future. I still think what might have happened if I didn't have a list of accomplishments, or if the judge didn't think I was competent enough to decide when to start my family, or if he believed the harmful stereotype I was raised to believe that Black girls were fast and promiscuous. Access to an abortion should not depend on our GPA, the color of our skin, where we live, or the luck of the draw. It should not depend in any shape, form, or fashion who your governor is or who is sitting on the Supreme Court. My entire childhood, every adult in my life had failed me. None of them deserved to make a decision about my body. I needed compassion and trust from my government. All I got was another barrier. There are thousands like me who are sexually abused by parents, guardians, and grown-ups who are supposed to support them. Today, 37 states require parental consent or notification for a minor to access abortion. Most young people do involve their parents in their decision. But for those like me who cannot, these kinds of restrictions make abortion hard to get because we have to travel, miss work or school, save up for weeks, and pay out of pocket. The average per capita income in West Virginia is $25,479. That's 1/7 of your Senate salaries. In Central Appalachia, Black and low-income white people struggle to access health care, including abortion, and to have our decisions respected. The Supreme Court has made historic decisions that uphold our rights and freedoms. My right to an abortion, the integration of my public schools, the Affordable Health Care Act that ensures that I have health insurance, and workplace protections for my transgender daughter. I have put my faith in the Supreme Court, and with this nomination, I am losing faith. Although the way I have chosen to create my family is demonized by some politicians, the reality is that we're like most families across the nation. I had an abortion. I have 2 sons and a daughter who is trans. I love my children. We are a proud Afro-Latin family. That's African American Appalachian. My story is my own, but represents so many people left out from the Supreme Court nominee hearings. An entire cast of people. That's CASTE, cast. President Trump has been clear that he would only appoint justices who would overturn Roe v. Wade. Unfortunately, through learning about Judge Barrett's record, I understand why the president believes she passes the test. Please listen to people who have had abortions. Hear us when we ask you, do not confirm this nominee. Our futures, our families, our lives depend on it. We too are America. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. Ms. Staggs?
Good morning, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you all today. I'm here to raise my voice against the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett and in support of the Affordable Care Act, as well as to share my family's story. While I appear in this room alone, I bring with me millions of families, including 130 million Americans who live with pre-existing conditions and millions of Americans who dissent from this hearing and any confirmation to the Supreme Court before Inauguration Day. My name is Stacey Staggs, though I'm more frequently addressed as Mommy. I live in North Carolina with my husband and twin girls who have complex medical needs and disabilities. I advocate for their health care, education, and community inclusion with Little Lobbyists, a family-led organization advocating for children like my own. I share Judge Barrett's disdain for hypotheticals. As a behavioral interviewer, I know that past conduct is an indicator of future decision-making. And I am here today because Judge Barrett has repeatedly made statements that are hostile to the Affordable Care Act. A vote for Judge Barrett is a vote to take away health care. And a vote for Judge Barrett is a vote to strike down the law that saved the lives of my daughters. And my family is but one of many. Studies confirm the ACA has saved thousands of lives, especially in states that have accepted Medicaid expansion. And my family is a real-life example of the ACA's success. My twin daughters, Emma and Sarah, are adorable and active 7-year-olds. They're the lights of my life. And we balance a busy schedule of therapies and distance learning. Sarah Bean is my nature lover. She's happiest when she's splashing in the water or digging in the dirt. And Emma has a smile that lights up her entire face. Her favorite day is Tuesday, when we go to the farm for therapeutic horseback riding. I love them with the same joy and amazement I'm sure you feel for your own children. But 7 years ago, their recent birthday would have been too much to hope for. My husband and I were excited to learn we were expecting. We were surprised to learn we were having twins. I had excellent prenatal care, which is one of the essential benefits under the Affordable Care Act. And my pregnancy was going great until one day it wasn't. I was experiencing pain, so my doctor suggested I come down to the hospital for monitoring. And within hours, as my vital signs faded, I was rushed to the operating room where our small wonders were born via emergency C-section at 28 weeks. They were rushed to the neonatal intensive care unit where their survival was far from assured. We sat in vigil for weeks, learning an entirely new language of medical terms and holding our breath in between heartbeats on their monitors. I wasn't able to hold either girl for several weeks, but they were about the size of my hand. They had IVs in every extremity and skin so fragile you could see through it. Emma's birth weight was 1 pound, 9 ounces. She has never taken an unassisted breath or made a sound due to vocal cord paralysis. She has an artificial airway through a breathing tube, and she eats through a feeding tube that was surgically placed when she was 3 months old. Her twin sister, Sarah, was the bigger of the newborns at 2 pounds, and she needed heart surgery at 2 weeks old. That was the day percentages took on a new meaning for me. The surgeon told us his success rate for Sarah's procedure was 98%. Then he leaned in and said, but that doesn't mean much to the parents of the 2%. To this day, when I hear data points and discussion about recovery from COVID-19, for example, I'm immediately transported back to the surgical waiting room. When I was finally able to bring my babies home from the hospital for the first time after 110 days, we received an explanation of benefits with total claims nearing $1 million for their care. And in the first 7 years, our combined claims have surpassed 4 million. Without the protections of the Affordable Care Act, my daughters would have already hit their lifetime caps and now be rendered uninsurable. And we have primary insurance through my husband's employer. Medicaid support has been a lifeline for Emma because she needs 24-hour eyes-on care. Medicaid provides Emma with home and community-based services, including nursing, that allow her to stay home with us, where she belongs, instead of living in a hospital or other medical facility. Our country's in a public health crisis right now, one that's getting worse by the day. In this moment, we need our legislators to protect our families, to provide relief and support, to do the job we've elected them to do. We do not need to rush through the nomination of a Supreme Court justice who is on the record as hostile to the law that provides our healthcare protections. Shifting focus away from a relief package for families during a pandemic tells me the committee's priorities are not aligned with those of the American people. I urge you to listen to us and address the immediate need of COVID relief. Last, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to give my testimony, to say healthcare is a human right and decency matters, and to remind you that as your constituents, my children and all children like ours are your children too. I hope you'll remember your duty to all of our children as you cast your vote to protect or to take away the healthcare their lives depend on to survive and thrive. Lastly, let me share that today is the first day of early voting in North Carolina. It's a big day for me here too. My next task is to cast my ballot accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I jumped out of order there. We got Miss Amanda Roberi, then we'll get to Miss Walk.
Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Feinstein, and other members of the committee, I am deeply honored to speak to you about somebody who has had an outsized effect on my life as a former boss and a cherished mentor, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. I know Judge Barrett to be a person of the highest character, and I sincerely and enthusiastically support her nomination to be an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. I had the privilege to serve as a law clerk during Judge Barrett's first term on the bench, joining her chambers shortly after her confirmation to the Seventh Circuit in 2017. From the very beginning, I saw Judge Barrett exhibit the rare and unique set of qualities that make her an exemplary judge. She is a brilliant thinker. She analyzes and writes about legal issues with striking clarity and precision. She is patient, thoughtful, and compassionate. She brings each of these qualities to bear on every case she decides. Judge Barrett is dedicated and disciplined, and as a judge, she is committed above all else to the rule of law. As she has said, and as I have seen, Judge Barrett understands that policy decisions must be left to the political branches. The role of a judge is to enforce the law as written. I have seen Judge Barrett put that unwavering commitment to the law into action in every case before her. She approaches each case with an open mind. She commits to the idea that either side might, in the end, have the better legal argument. Judge Barrett's open-mindedness is grounded in her compassion. She has spoken about viewing each decision from the perspective of the losing party. I saw her put that ethic into practice. It would be easier in many ways not to take this more demanding approach. But I learned from Judge Barrett that the law is about fairness over efficiency, and that every member of society and every party that comes before the court is entitled to equal justice. Judge Barrett is a judge who applies the law fairly and reaches the result that is required. And she writes with empathy and appreciates the real-life impact of her decisions. Alongside Judge Barrett's powerful intellect and enduring commitment to the law is her determination and discipline. In deciding cases, Judge Barrett has never relied simply on her extraordinarily sharp legal mind. She pairs that gift with a dedication to the full process in each case. She never takes a shortcut. She thoroughly examines the facts and the applicable law in each case. She's an intensely hard worker. Even the early rising clerks often arrived at her chambers to find the light already on underneath her office door. Even with her towering intellect and unfailing work ethic, Judge Barrett always took seriously the views of her law clerks. She would often pop over to our offices, ready to hear our perspective on a case or discuss a particular legal question. It's a testament to her respect and charity that she often walked the path from her office to mine, eager to hear my thoughts on the legal questions or to engage me in discussion over the thornier issues. It was in those conversations that Judge Barrett created a culture that encouraged us to voice our differing opinions, even if we thought she would ultimately disagree. She sees the value in discourse, and she fosters that value in her clerks, teaching us to be open and curious and humble about the law and life. And from what I saw as a law clerk, Judge Barrett approached her colleagues on the bench with the same gracious humility and openness that I experienced from her. Judge Barrett's impact on my life runs far deeper than legal training. As I said, I was in Judge Barrett's first class of clerks, and I joined her chambers in January of 2018, 2 weeks after my graduation from law school. I loved my time in law school, but I also spent much of it unsure of myself. I often tried to downplay my presence, afraid that I was wrong or inadequate. I wasn't certain I had what it took to succeed. Judge Barrett changed that for me. Her example and mentorship inspired in me confidence I didn't know I had. I can't point to a single event or a point in time when that change occurred. Change like that, formative change, happens gradually across hundreds of conversations and hours shared. Judge Barrett leads in law and in life with conviction, generosity, and courage. She inspires me to do the same. For example, I can tell you with certainty that I would not have the confidence to be here speaking to this committee without Judge Barrett's influence in my life. Judge Barrett has the rare gift of lifting everyone around her. She knows how to bring out the best in her clerks, spurring each of us to excellence. Judge Barrett has her own large family, but that didn't stop her from treating her clerks like family too. Shortly after arrived in chambers, my 3 co-clerks and I piled into the back of Judge Barrett's minivan, and she drove us from South Bend to Chicago for her first set of oral arguments. She cared deeply about each of us, investing time and encouraging us to cultivate rich, fulfilling, and well-rounded lives, both in and beyond the law. Clerking for Judge Barrett and being mentored by her is an honor. Judge Barrett has elevated my thinking, writing, and character, not by prescription, but simply by being herself. As a Supreme Court justice, she would be a role model for generations to come, as she is for me. I am proud and honored to support Judge Amy Coney Barrett's nomination to serve as an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our last witness is Ms. Wolk. Did I get that right, Ms. Wolk?
You did.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Feinstein, and members of the committee. My name is Laura Wolk, and I am a former student and mentee of Judge Amy Coney Barrett. In part because of her unwavering support, I am the first blind woman to serve as a law clerk on the Supreme Court of the United States. It is now my immense privilege to appear before you in support of Judge Barrett's nomination to that same great institution. You have heard over the past few days about Judge Barrett's judicial qualities, which are beyond reproach. But should you confirm Amy Barrett, the country will receive something far greater than simply an unparalleled legal mind. It will gain the service of one of the kindest individuals I have ever known. Her brilliance is matched only by her compassion, and her integrity is unassailable. I'm not speaking in mere abstractions here. Rather, I have experienced these characteristics firsthand with life-changing results. Because I am completely blind, I rely heavily on assistive technology to compete on a level playing field with my sighted peers. Before arriving at Notre Dame Law School in 2013, I worked hard to ensure that the university would purchase backup copies of the technology I use. But upon arrival, I discovered that bureaucratic glitches left me without access to that technology. And on cue, my personal laptop immediately began to fail. Overnight, I found myself struggling to keep up in class, falling increasingly behind with each passing hour. I needed help, and I needed it fast. I'd been Judge Barrett's student only for a few weeks, but her graciousness and warmth gave me hope that she could provide me with that assistance. Even so, I maintained relatively low expectations. Based on my past experience, I assumed that Judge Barrett would simply direct me to the proper bureaucratic channels, which could still take weeks, if not longer, to navigate. But Judge Barrett did something altogether different. She silently listened with deep attention as I explained my situation, giving me the freedom to let down my guard and come apart. As a disabled person, I am accustomed to acting as if I have everything under control, when in reality, the world feels like it is spinning out from under me. But in front of Judge Barrett, I was able to let the mask slip and indeed to disappear completely. I poured out all my concerns, not just about technology and my worries about failing classes, but all the burdens I currently carried as a disabled woman navigating a brand new environment. When I finished, Judge Barrett leaned forward and looked at me intently. "Laura," she said, with the same measured conviction that we have seen displayed throughout her entire nomination process, "this is no longer your problem, it's my problem." I can't capture adequately the relief that washed over me at her words. Her offer was rare enough in its own right, but even when such offers are extended, many unfortunately do not follow through. It's hard to trust an offer of assistance, no matter how desperately it is needed or earnestly it is given. Not so with Judge Barrett. Anyone who has interacted with her knows that she is a woman of her word. She means what she says, and she says what she means. When she promised to advocate for me, she commanded my trust. To this day, I do not know what Judge Barrett did to solve my problem, itself a testament to her humility. All I know is that the technology arrived promptly, which in turn allowed me to excel and to place me in a position that would eventually allow me to apply for a clerkship on the Supreme Court. This encounter was the first in which Judge Barrett demonstrated the depth of her generous spirit, but it was far from the last. She has remained a constant source of strength, encouragement, and solace as I have pursued professional and personal opportunities with no roadmap to guide me. Through her mentorship, she has given me a gift of immeasurable value, the ability to live an abundant life with the potential to break down barriers so that I can leave this world a better place than I found it. Though I am here today to share with you my story, the very best aspect of that story is that it is hardly unique. Those who have had the benefit of knowing Amy Coney Barrett understand that she possesses a boundless font of energy and a radical sense of love that she is ever ready to pour out upon those lucky enough to call her teacher, boss, family, and friend. Judge Barrett will serve this country with distinction, not only because of her intellectual prowess, but also because of her ability to treat everyone as an equal, deserving of complete respect. As a beneficiary of both of these qualities, I urge you to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court of the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. I mean, your testimony in their own way was incredibly compelling in your life circumstances. We appreciate you sharing with the committee, whether you were in support or opposition to Judge Barrett. I really don't have any questions. I'm going to turn it over to Senator Feinstein. For the committee, if you want to grab a bite, we'll press on, but I just want to keep going. And we'll make sure everybody can ask questions that would like. Just one editorial comment. Ms. Walk, I'm very impressed with what you had to say. My sister is the executive director for the Commission of Blind in South Carolina, and she's trying to bring about better outcomes. And I just have some understanding of the world that you just spoke of, and maybe all of us can work together to provide some upper game here when it comes to services. Senator Feinstein.
I would like to ask this question, if I may, of Crystal Good. I want to thank you for being here and sharing your very remarkable story with the committee. You've testified about a very personal decision that you made as a teenager to have an abortion. I'd like to just talk to you a little bit more about it because, as you and I both know, this is very hard for a girl or for a woman, and the personal circumstances are often not known. And so I was wondering if you would discuss with us what it has meant for you to have that right constitutionally to reproductive care.
Thank you, Senator Feinstein. I just want to say that, I'm here today with the support and prayers of my pastor, of my friends and folks from Hills and Hollers, and my family, including my mom. And my mom and I have come a really long way. We've been on a very long healing journey to build a strong relationship. Her actions then were not excusable, but today I really understand how women like my mom and men too can fall prey to a culture of silence and churches and systems that knew what my stepfather was doing, and they protected him and not me. And so, my right to access health care is why I am here today. And I am speaking from not a place of bitterness, but to give caution and concern in this nomination that the government cannot and should not create barriers to health care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's very clear that you're a very strong person. I think we all wish you well. I would like to ask Dr. Bhatti, doctor, can I ask that question? Okay. What would you say to people who have excellent healthcare coverage, as is true here for us in the Senate, to help us understand how important the ACA is for your patients?
Well, what I would say to folks with good insurance is that we're blessed. I have good health insurance too. We are blessed to be in a position, as a society, we sometimes punish people when the only mistake that they might have made is not choosing their parents wisely. And a lot of my patients fall into that category where, they are hardworking people. They go to work every day. They try to do their part to contribute to society. But their stories don't often get told. And that's why I'm here today, is to tell their stories and to let folks know that, the committee that I'm here representing and I as an individual value healthcare for all Americans. That's what this is all about, is making sure that every American has access.
Could I stop you for a minute?
Yes.
Because what's really important to me is, what do you think of the long-term consequences that the pandemic will have on this nation's health?
I'm very worried about the pandemic. We already have had, many 217,000 deaths. 8 million Americans have contracted COVID. 14 million Americans have lost their employer-based healthcare because they've lost their jobs since the beginning of the pandemic. And so we need to take bold action to get the pandemic under control in order to save as many lives as possible. I'm very concerned about our health response at every level of government.
Well, one other last question. What do you believe the most critical health response is to be beneficial? If you could speak a little bit about that and the numbers of people and your advice to us.
We need to do a better job at the highest level of government, starting with the federal government on down, with testing and contact tracing, and providing the resources to all the states that they need to do that. Because the numbers, as striking as they are a sharp underestimation of what the reality actually is, because we do not have the capacity at the ground level to perform as many tests as we need to know just how many Americans actually have COVID and just how many people have become sick and have died from COVID. So the numbers are sharp underestimation. So anything that the federal government can do to empower each and every state to get more accurate counts, and then also to lead by example, where we need, masks should not be a partisan issue. Washing hands should not be a partisan issue. Social distancing should not be a partisan issue. And we need every elected member of Congress to lead by example by engaging in acts of public health that we need every American to engage in order to prevent the spread.
Such as what kind of acts of public health?
I mean, basic things like having every member of Congress commit to wearing a mask, every member of Congress commit to social distancing, commit to not going into indoor places with more than 10 people, not holding large rallies where people aren't wearing masks, standing right side by side next to each other. Every member of Congress has, I believe, as a physician, has an obligation to lead by example. And that's what's going to help my patients the most is when they see elected officials that they trust leading by example and in participating in or taking part in simple public health measures to keep everybody safe.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Dr. Rob Bowery, I'll turn it over to Senator Kennedy. Does that include protest?
I beg your pardon, Senator?
Would that include mass protest?
Any large gathering of people.
Would that include rioting?
No, well, sir, I don't support rioting if that's what you're asking me. But
Well,
any
I just want to make sure. Thank you. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank all of our witnesses for taking the time to come by. I particularly want to thank Professor Prakash. Am I saying that right?
Great.
Thank you, Professor. You did me a favor. You may not remember it, but one of my colleagues in my office is sitting behind me, Hannah Frayer. And you recommended Hannah to me. And I wanted to thank you for that. She's made you taught her well. She's made a substantial contribution to my office. Also, two of your colleagues, Paul Stephen and Dan Ortiz, are friends of mine. We went to school together, though at different schools. Paul and I were together at one school, and Dan and I were together at another. And please remember them to me. They are, in a word, brilliant, and they're good mates. So tell them I said hi.
Certainly.
And thanks again to everyone.
Here's one. Thanks, Senator Feinstein. I want to show you a photo of Nate Lau. I've produced a photo of an Illinoisan every day. And this one, Nate, photo is 8 years old, good-looking young man. It's the 8th anniversary of a surgery that saved his life, diagnosed with biliary atresia. He ended up needing liver transplant. Thank you, Lurie Children's, a wonderful hospital. Medical care cost more than $1 million in the first year of his life. And of course, it continues. He's in the 3rd grade. He plays soccer, video games, and playing with his younger sister. He, of course, now has a pre-existing condition for the rest of his life. And his parents tell me that lifetime limits might have cost him his life, period. So when we talk about the future of the Affordable Care Act, and Doctor, thank you for reminding us, remember this little fellow. What a good-looking young man he is. So I'm going to make a confession here that may not sit well with some of my colleagues. But when someone tells me, check the box, I'm an originalist, it isn't enough for me. It doesn't tell the whole story. In fact, it doesn't tell me much. Let me read to you what the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, who's a friend, said a couple days ago in a news conference. They asked her if she was an originalist. Here's what she said. You ask a gay black woman if she's an originalist? No, ma'am, I am not. That Constitution didn't consider me a person in any way, shape, or form because I'm a woman, because I'm black, and because I'm gay. I'm not an originalist. I believe in the Constitution. I believe it's a document the founders intended to evolve. What they did was set the framework for how our country was going to be different from any other. But originalists say that let's go back to 1776. Whatever was there in the original language, that's it. That language excluded over 50% of the people living in America today. So no, I'm not an originalist. So I don't take any comfort when people proclaim I'm an originalist. Trust me, I'm going to look at this Constitution, and having taken a good hard look at it, don't worry, we'll find the wisdom in these words. And we had a case here, which was very important. And we talked about it over and over each day. And that was the Cantor versus Barr case, because Judge Barrett took the time to write a lengthy dissent. And she, being an originalist, took this adventure in history. She went back 400 years. Senator Kennedy, 400 years, it wasn't even in Louisiana maybe at that point. 400 years to find some guidance. What she missed in her conclusion is what's happening 400 yards from where she lives, where crime guns are coming across the border from state of Indiana into the city of Chicago and killing innocent people. The notion that we would somehow drop our guard and make it easier for people who are convicted felons to own firearms just doesn't make sense from where I'm standing. And I don't know if going back to the time of the British decisions on what to do with flintlocks is really much guidance when it comes to the reality today. Ms. Clark, if you're still on board, would you comment on Mayor Lightfoot's version of originalism and her take on it?
I have grave concerns about Judge Barrett's commitment to originalism and textualism as a theory of constitutional interpretation. It purports to rely on the understanding of our constitutional text at the time when the language was adopted, which is not practical in the 21st century. And it can lead to a high degree of speculation about the framer's subjective understanding. But, you know, I'd like, if I could, Senator, to read a quote from Justice Kennedy. The nature of injustice is that we may not always see it in our own times. The generations that wrote and ratified the Bill of Rights and the 14th Amendment did not presume to know the extent of freedom in all of its dimensions, and so they entrusted to future generations a charter protecting the rights of all persons to enjoy liberty as we learn its meaning. I think that Judge Barrett's strict adherence to originalism and textualism stands to turn our country back decades and runs the risk that we will exclude from the Constitution promise African Americans, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, and more.
Isn't it interesting, Ms. Clark, that many of the questions and issues before us still relate to the evolution of thinking beyond the original Constitution as it related to African Americans, for example, and particularly as it relates to women today? We are going through this. We're in the middle of this. And the folks in that Constitution, which I swore to support and defend, didn't get those two aspects right. Women didn't have a right to vote, and African Americans weren't even counted as full citizens, let alone having the right to vote. We are still debating that many hundred years later. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You, Senator Durbin, anyone on our side? Senator Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Griffith, I'd like to start with you if I could. In addition to being a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, you've also been a professor, and you've taught a course for a number of years at Stanford Law School regarding the unique, distinct role of the Article III judge. If I understand correctly, you've also started for the last few years teaching that same course at Harvard.
I'm with you.
And you'll be teaching that at Harvard and the University of Virginia this year.
Okay.
What do you tell your students are some of the most important lessons that you've learned as an Article III judge?
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, the danger is if I give you the full answer and the students are out there, they'll do better on the exams by hearing what I think. I'm just kidding. No, I came upon this course because I wanted to have a better understanding of what my role was as a judge. What am I supposed to do under the Constitution? What role am I supposed to play? And if I could just tell a quick story that I think captures what I've learned, both from being a judge and then from the courses and hearing interaction with the students. Tell the story. It happened the day after I was confirmed by the Senate for my seat on the D.C. Circuit. It was a happy day for me. I was in my office. I was the general counsel of Brigham Young University at the time, and I was the recipient of many congratulatory phone calls from people from around the country who I had known and worked with before. One was from a fellow he and I had been at the same law firm in Washington, D.C., and he had clerked for a distinguished member of the D.C. Circuit who's long since passed away, and then went on to clerk on the Supreme Court. And so he wanted to give me some advice about being a judge. He said, "Are you open for advice?" And I said, boy am I. I'm teachable. And he said, "I'll tell you what I was told the first day in my judge's chambers in the D.C. Circuit." He sat me down and he said, "Here's how we go about our job. The first thing that we do is we learn the facts of the case as best we can. These are real people. They have real struggles. They deserve to know that we know who they are, that we know the challenges they face. They deserve that. And so we have to spend a lot of time to learn their circumstances." So the next thing that we do is we think long and hard and deep about the fair result, the just outcome, the equitable disposition. And once we figure that out, we go find law to support our decision. Now, the purpose of the call was a congratulatory one. It was not to engage in a discussion of the role of the Article III judge. But I took a vow that I would do my level best to always heed the first part of that advice. Always heed the first part of that advice, that these are real people who have real struggles and we need to understand them. I took a vow that I would never follow the last part of this advice. Why? Because it's the American people who get to decide what's fair and just and equitable. And they express that through their politically accountable representatives, through members of Congress. They do that through legislation. They do that through the Constitution of the United States. I was not appointed to decide, to take my own views of what's fair and just and equitable and use them to resolve the case. That's not what our system allows. Maybe that would be a perfectly good way of running a government, but that's not the system that our government was created to do. I'm an originalist. I'm a textualist. There are many political progressives who are originalists. One is Professor Akhil Amar, who's a great originalist scholar and is a political progressive. Professor Amar, in his book, The Constitution, a Biography, which I highly recommend, says something I think quite profound. The most fundamental, I won't quote him, but I'll paraphrase him. According to Professor Amar, the most fundamental liberty protected by the Constitution is the right of we the people to set the rules by which the government, by which our society is run. And we do that through politically accountable representatives. We don't do that through judges. Our job as a judge is to be a faithful agent
Air Force One, they don't
to
have
we the
Wi-Fi on
people
board.
as they
So we
express
can see it
their
happen
will
absolutely any minute
through
now.
law.
And we are excited to be able to bring that to you guys.
The Constitution is a very
scheduled to speak today in Greenville, North Carolina, 1 p.m. This is Eastern Time Zone. So thank you guys for tuning in with us and stay tuned. There are questions in the chat room. People are asking, is this live? Yes, this is live. It is currently 12:52 p.m. Again, 8 minutes shy of President Trump's scheduled speaking time. So Air Force One should be arriving any minute now. We will have the arrival Air Force One taxiing down the runway, and we have a busy week ahead of us. So thank you guys for staying tuned. Let me see if I can not mess up this past schedule and say it with you guys. One thing you should know is that we are entirely unscripted. There is no teleprompter, and I really don't think you should need one if you're telling real news. No one needs to tell you what to say. I'm just saying what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing. Maybe my numbers are off sometimes, but that's not because I'm trying to spread false propaganda, because I can't count. But you guys can see for yourself. I don't even have to make up numbers. I mean, thousands of people, absolutely thousands of people here today to show support for President Trump. Everyone is standing. It's incredible. It is a high of 80 degrees here today in Greenville, North Carolina, and it is hot, but it also couldn't be more perfect. There's a really nice breeze coming through that you can see I guess the flags are really a good way for you to visualize the strength of the breeze. It's helping keep us all cool under this direct sunlight. And it is standing room only all the way behind these risers. I know, it's amazing, right? So we want you guys to be able to being here as possible. That's our goal at RSB. And you see these people standing up. That means excitement. And it's enthusiasm that is going to drive people to the polls. And that is one of the many things that President Trump has on his side. His fan base is enthusiastic. They are excited. They want and they know that they need 4 more years. Economies are so important. And that is something President Trump has clearly shown his success at, bringing us to one of the greatest economies in the world of all time. Here recently, right before the China virus came and did its best to deteriorate that. And expect those highs to come right back. It's evident that thousands of people here behind me agree and think the same thing. I'm going to jump into the chat room and answer some questions you guys might have. We know this is a shorter rally today. The re-entry time had a smaller gap than usual, so I'm going to try and make up for that, answer your questions, get you the schedule for the remainder of the week, and really inform you guys as much as I can about this campaign, what's going on, what you can expect, what President Trump is doing. If you have questions, please reach out to me and I'll answer all that I can. Today, of course, is the 15th. We are in Greenville, North Carolina. Tomorrow, we will be live in 2 places. President Trump has a dual stop, the first one being Ocala, Florida, and the second one will be Macon, Georgia. Macon, Georgia's rally is scheduled to begin at 7 p.m. I will be hosting that one, and I'm beyond thrilled. I am a Georgia girl, born and raised, so I know there's confusion. I went to Auburn, Alabama for college, War Eagle, but I am a Georgia girl. So super excited to be back in my home state. I'll have my family at tomorrow's rally, and they'll finally be able to get to watch me work, which I'm thrilled about. And let's see. Yeah, okay, so tomorrow there are 2 rallies, Ocala, Florida, Macon, Georgia. The following day is going to be October 17th. We'll have Michigan and Wisconsin. Again, Michigan and Wisconsin on the 17th. So in the next 72 hours, we have 5 rallies. Each rally is between $5,000 to $7,000 to get to send our entire team, all this camera equipment. It's expensive, but it's also wonderful, and your donations are what allow us to be able to do this. So thank you for your constant support. This network is so different in terms of not being monetized or not being funded, sponsored by big tech or a massive network that controls what we can say. Again, we are totally live. We want to give you this full experience, and we support President Trump. We want the campaign's hard work to be shown to hundreds of millions of people, and that's what we do here. So thank you for allowing us to make our dreams come true, and hopefully your dreams are coming true as well. We're going to get 4 more years of President Trump in the White House. If you're wondering how you can donate, there are a number of ways. The first way being the YouTube Super Chat. As soon as I finish naming these ways to donate, I'll actually be jumping in the Super Chat and reading some of those donations out loud. So go ahead and get those in, and I will be happy to give you shout outs in just a moment. Again, get your donations in right now for a shout out in just a moment. You can do that by clicking the $sign in the bottom right hand corner of the YouTube Super Chat. Donate absolutely any amount. Leave a message if you'd like a shout out, and I will be reading those out loud. A second way to donate, which is a lot of fun because you can also leave a message, is by doing it via our website. So our website is www.rsbnetwork.com/donate. Again, that's rsbnetwork.com/donate. It is done through PayPal, so a tried, true, and trusted source. And we actually get to keep 90% of those proceeds as opposed to giving 30% to YouTube, which is what happens with the Super Chat. Not to say don't use the Super Chat. We love it all, you guys. And the Super Chat is just a lot of fun. A third way you can donate, and this is a great way, we enforce it. We encourage it. A lot of people enjoy it because it's non-electronic. So that's by sending a check. You can send a check to 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. So just to reiterate, those 3 main ways are the first one being the YouTube Super Chat, the second one being the website. electronic. You can send a check to our 2 or more designs every single month, with over 30 designs right now. One being Conan the Hero Dog, Melania Trump, the red MAGA hat, leftist tears, President Trump meeting with Kim Jong-un at the DMZ. There's the Build the Wall. There are so many designs. Oh, do you see that? Is that a stink bug?
There's a stink bug on the mic.
I don't want to get it. No, don't put it towards me. There we go. Oh my God. That is the most real news you will ever see. So I'm not even gonna read the chat because I don't want to know what y'all just said about that. But I literally just like looked down and it's at my mouth. So we're gonna move on. Definitely lost my train of thought there. I'm gonna move into the YouTube super chat and actually see what y'all are saying. Hopefully you're being nice. We will find out shortly. 16,000 people. Before I do that, let me see if we have any pool updates from the White House press pool. Looks like we do have one from Joint Base Andrews, where a Marine touched down at 12:26 p.m. So almost half an hour ago, the president emerged a minute or two after talking to his pilots. He walked to Air Force One, waved to the pool, and boarded. He was not wearing a mask. Mark Meadows, Dan Scavino, Hope Hicks, Derek Lyons, John McEntee Meadows could be seen removing the mask as he left Marine One. Others were not wearing masks. Yada, yada, yada. There was also spotted on Air Force One earlier was Ronna McDaniels. Sorry.
Kamala canceled her event.
Oh, yeah, I saw that this morning. So the pool also says they're departing on a 2-day trip with a rally in Greenville, North Carolina, a fundraiser at Trump National Doral, Florida, followed by the NBC News town hall this evening. They are on Air Force One, which is the smaller plane with the connectivity issues that I mentioned earlier. So we should be seeing them really any minute now. I don't know what time they are taking off from Joint Base Andrews, but we have a beautiful day for a landing. Thank you. A beautiful day for a landing right behind us. And assuming Air Force One will taxi up right behind the stage like he does at these smaller airport venues. It's going to be a beautiful day. And I'm going to jump into the chat room in just a minute, see if you guys have specific questions. We are hearing that we might be heading out west later this week. So we're going to have our rally schedule is it's really just beginning, but it's getting crazy. Thank you to everyone who has donated and allowed us to get to where we are so far. 22,000 people watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. That's way more than I thought would have watched me freak out with a bug on my microphone. So I don't know if I'm excited or horrified that so many of you are tuned in right now. But it looks like we have some donations. I want to read some of those out loud. We have Mike Woodward who said, arrest coming soon. Where we go one, we go all. $50 from Michael McLarnon. This does remind me of something I wanted to point out. Reading that email, of course, I was trying to read it in real time, but also paraphrase it to you guys because I don't think we really care who's wearing a mask and who's not at this point. Seems redundant and a use of useless information, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is going to be one of Hope Hicks' first rallies, public appearances that she's traveling with the president again since being diagnosed with coronavirus a little over 2 weeks ago. So, okay, cool, thank you. We have Proud Patriot USA who donated $20.20 and said, always a good day when it's rally day. RSBN, you have gone well above and beyond with the work you have put in. Now it's on us to get to the polls. P.S. Where's Hunter? $25 from Fran Sesti who said, great job, SoCal for Trump. We have $10 from Angels More 888 and a $20 donation from Leticia Helfin who said, Latinos for Trump. We love it. Love to see that. Thank you guys for your donations. Don't forget, if you want to shout out, make sure to donate via the chat. I'm going to hand the microphone back over to my beautiful co-host today, Ashley. I know, like, and a reporter at the same time. I'm sure it's overwhelming. So, what have you thought of your rally so far today?
So, y'all might not know this as a big supporter that I am, but this is my first Trump rally. And I had a mix of emotions coming in here today. I wasn't sure if I was going to laugh or cry because I was so excited and nervous at the same time. But it's really amazing. Everyone is so kind. The energy here it looks so calm, but it's the calm before the storm.
It really is.
And we all know it's coming. It's almost time for the president to arrive. Sometimes he's a little bit fashionably late, but that's okay. He is worth waiting for. So fashionable. He is fashionable. So I am just waiting patiently to see him in person. I'm glad I have my sunglasses on. I might shed a tear or two. Don't judge me, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. I love this man. I think he is the best president that has ever been elected in our country. I mean, in a different way than any other, but I love him so much because he says what he thinks. I know there's been times when I've been watching hearings or I've been watching debates and you hear the Republicans get picked apart and they never fight back, and you just sit in front of your TV screen or behind your radio and you listen and you say, come on guys, just say something, just fight back for once. And Donald Trump is the one that fights back. He says what you're thinking. And some people might think that's inappropriate, but that's why I love him, because I know that he is genuine. He's saying what's on his mind. He is honest. You might not like it, but do you not think that other presidents have thought the same things? They just try to be politically correct and say what you want to hear. But I want to hear the truth. I want to hear honesty. I want it to come from his heart. And every single time with Donald Trump, it does come from his heart, whether you like that or not. But that is a quality that I do appreciate in a president of the United States.
So here's a message from, oh wow, this is going so fast. It's hard to stop on a particular post, but Jane Beeman, this is Virginia Loves Trump. Hello there. We've got a shout out from Drake. Drake, where are you? It's going so fast. I don't know how. Listen, guys, we so appreciate you being here with us. I want to try to get, can you help me with this? So I want to try to get some of these people. I want to get some shout outs.
Oh my goodness, John
It's
Miller,
just going
Sandra Lamb. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Lily's mom, Catherine Fong, Virginia Cox, Tim Morris.
Can we stop this? Let me just see if I can stop it, because you guys are so wonderful. So Greg Davis, thank you so much. Trump Pence 2020. We have, oh my goodness, it's going so fast. So I don't know, I can't keep up with it. Do you know how to, hey Liz, do you know how to keep up with the YouTube feed? Because I was wanting to send some shout outs to some of our viewers because it's going so fast. Yeah, it's going a little too fast, you guys, but just know, okay, Anna, okay, okay, it's going super fast. I try, guys, but you know what?
We appreciate everyone. We really do. It's hard for us with our eyes in the sun and our sunglasses on to read those names.
Yeah,
it really does.
it is.
So fast
It is.
on that feed, but we do appreciate every single person who's watching with us today.
Again, I want to remind all of you that we're brought to you by your donations. If it wasn't for you, we would not be here. So go to rsbnetwork.com. We love your support. We love you. Thank you so much for supporting us. This event is honestly, truly magical. You know, Trump reminds me, he's like a new pioneer, kind of like George Washington, you know what I mean? When he became president, they had the legislative branch, judicial branch, they had everything in place, but they didn't have the president because they want to really work out what his powers were going to be, because they wanted it to be very limited powers. And so
Which he also
went out.
wanted as well. He didn't want the full power as a king.
So he went out and spoke to the people, and of course we know what history recorded. But Trump is a new pioneer. He is us, you guys. President Donald Trump, the reason I believe that we love him as much as we do is because he says what we think, and he pretty much thinks along the lines that we do. And I know that's one of the reasons that I love President Donald J. Trump. And again, this crowd is, gosh, I wish I could like somehow through the tech show people how exciting and the electricity that's in the air here. But and you're looking beautiful by the way. You're gorgeous.
Thank you so very much.
Well, you are.
I really
And if we cry, we cry at the same time.
I have no shame in crying because I am so grateful for our president. As we are panning the crowd here, we are seeing the big Make America Great Again signs. We are seeing a lot of signs that say 4 more years. We are seeing Women for Trump, Veterans for Trump. We're seeing, you know, all different people, black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter what you are. Everyone's here, peaceful together. Everyone's having a good time.
Got Liz behind you.
We do have Liz behind us.
I know.
All right,
Liz?
how was it, ladies? Have y'all had fun today?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the best experience in the whole world.
I'm glad. I think you guys are getting another break. I am going to wait for Air Force One's arrival, and we're going to keep you guys off camera in case there's a few tears. I don't know, there might be. So thank you, ladies. Again, we are just moments away from Air Force One's scheduled arrival time, running behind schedule, but we're excited nonetheless. Looks like they are going to remove the cover from the podium, most likely put on the presidential seal is what's going to happen next. So we're going to focus in on the podium for a little bit and see what action's happening there. Generally, when they add the presidential seal to the podium, the audience gets a little excited. You know, it's their first glimpse of being near a sitting United States president. So we'll see if they start cheering at this one. Who knows? Looks like they're cleaning it as well. I've noticed that they swab it lately, so it's always fun to watch exactly what's going on over there. Gonna jump into the YouTube super chat. 26,000 people, so thank you. Right now they are sanitizing it with a little wipe. All these extra precautions due to coronavirus, but sanitizing it right now. That means that President Trump is close here in Greenville, North Carolina. Again, this is a rally that was scheduled at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So we're thrilled to be here. This is an absolutely beautiful day. We're not in a hangar. A lot of times the people are outside, but we as a network and part of the media pool are in the hangars. But this is a beautiful day to get some sunlight and fresh air and wind. We're having a great time. And I know President Trump's going to enjoy it as well. He definitely deserves to have crowds like this and to have people who really do support him, considering the amount of negative backlash he gets from mainstream media, the fake news, and how they cover him in a really negative light. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. The presidential seal is on the podium. A little bit of crowd applause there for that one, but it looks beautiful as always. We love that seal. Some on his campaign actually get to wear, actually I don't think it's the campaign, I believe it's the White House staff, but they have black masks with the presidential seal on the side, and I think those are the coolest masks I have ever seen, and the only one I would actually want to wear. They are so cool. I love our presidential seal, you guys. Let me know if you have questions. My name is Liz Willis. That's LIZWILLIS. Happy to answer those for you guys. My job here really is just to be on the ground, your eyes and ears for these events. Our camera's job is to be your peripheral vision and to show you these crowds, to continue panning them. Will always does an incredible job, and this crowd is getting bigger and bigger. It's wrapped all the way behind the media pit at this point. So let's see, Kyle, off the record, how many people do you think are here? Mathematical guess.
Probably 2,000.
All right.
About.
I'll say it. I think around 2,000. But you guys can decipher that for yourselves. So we're going to continue panning all the way around. More than 2,000 people, and they are standing up. I'm always lazy. I love to sit down. But these people, even though they have their seats, they are standing up. And they've been standing up ever since they got here. So a beautiful day. And a lot of people just really excited to be here. It looks like we have some more donations. Michael McLarnon, $50. $20 from Jeremy Johnson, who said COVID is a hoax. We have $20 from Eric Million, who said, please say Billy Glassman is always wrong. The Donald Discord donated $50. Shout out to the Donald. Betsy Rouse donated $20 and said, God bless Right Side and President Trump. $10 from Viva ATL 54, who said, thank you for all you do to keep us up with the president. So you are very welcome. It's truly an honor. Thank you for making it possible with your donation. JC Brigda donated 20 euros. Thank you. KZ Gypsy Muse donated and said, counting 30 plus Patriot YouTube channels. Our favorites being deleted vanished right now in real time. It's insane the amount of censorship that happens to conservative outlets. It's absolutely insane. We saw yesterday what happened with Kayleigh McEnany, the White House press secretary. Twitter they suspended her account for actually posting a New York Times or New York Post article regarding Hunter Biden and his involvement with Ukrainian Burisma energy company. There's some people waving right now in the front row. So great day, just waving back. But yeah, so what I was mentioning is Kayleigh McEnany actually got suspended on Twitter, I believe, yesterday. And if that doesn't scare you, it really should. Censorship for especially any type of campaign censorship, that is not something that should be happening in the United States of America. Maybe China, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, socialist countries, but not here. That should frighten the hell out of you guys. And hopefully it encourages you to support, show your support for freedom lovers and our liberty and our freedom of speech as well as freedom of press. That's what we live for here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Your support allows us to keep going and fight this constantly. We are constantly fighting it. Whether you guys see it or not, we have been fighting with Instagram for years now, trying to get verified. They refuse to verify us. So something I want you guys to help me with. Help us make it impossible for Instagram to deny us any longer. We want to be verified. We are a legitimate news source, and we cover President Trump's campaign like no other. So make sure you're following us on Instagram at RSB Network. I think once we get 50,000 followers, I am going to apply again for verification, and I don't know where I'm going to have to go after that or who I'm going to deal with, but I know that once we get a certain amount of number, they can't ignore us. So we're not going to let them keep ignoring us. We are going to keep pushing forward. So while you're at it, also make sure you're following us on Twitter. We'd love to get to 500,000 on Twitter. We have 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if all of y'all went over to Twitter as well, you guys would just help us. There are so many different social media platforms, and it's important to have a large base on all of them. It just helps us get the word out. The more people that see what's going on here and see this red wave, this enthusiasm, the better that it's going to be for President Trump and the campaign. It's just going to allow people to know they're not alone. They don't have to be scared. They don't have to be sad or worried. They do have to get out and vote. They do have to spread this enthusiasm and let other people know what's going on. But we are working so hard here, and we are almost entirely viewer funded. So we rely on your donations to keep us going from rally to rally location. I hate my voice. Let's silence that. It's my least favorite thing. From rally to rally. So there are a number of ways you can donate. The first one being that YouTube super chat. I'm going to jump in and read some more of those. I've got it open right now. We have 31,000 people. The first one being a great one. We have Ryan Lowe, who donated $4.99 and said, "I love you, Liz," and of course, President Trump. So thank you so much, Ryan. A lot of people are saying my glasses are too big for my face. I'm aware of that, especially when I'm looking down trying to read my phone. So I know you guys, just bear with me. They are what I have. We have Glenn Kagan, who said, "LA and California need help from POTUS and Patriots. Red wave coming." We have 777 in euros. He said, "Share the stream so we can get more viewers. Greetings from Germany. I don't want China to be the world's leader." Nor do we, my friends. We have Chance Vlogs, who said, "A lot of people here donate to help spread the truth. RSB Network is the best news network." We have JC Brigda, who donated 50 euros as well. AM Star with $9.99 said, "Keep up the great work. MAGA, we will win." Eric Million said, "Oh, I read that one earlier." So thank you. Let's get some more coming in. Happy to, and what I'm reading right now are the YouTube super chat donations. So if you want a shout out or you want to just support us, you can click that $sign in the bottom right hand corner of the YouTube super chat. And I am happy to read those out. Also, if you have questions, make sure you tag me at Liz Willis in the YouTube super chat. I have my phone. I'm reading it, you guys. So I'm not trying to ignore y'all. This is my way. We don't have a teleprompter or any of that fancy stuff. We just want to interact with you guys as much as we possibly can and communicate with you guys what's going on here from point A to point B. Thank you, Spotcom. Evan, hello, shout out. Oh, you guys, thank you. Absolutely right. Jeff Scott said Twitter and Facebook are taking away our constitutional rights of free speech. You're so correct. It's absurd. They don't even try to hide it anymore. It's blatantly obvious. And it's disgusting. It should scare, like I said, scare the hell out of you guys. This is not okay to be happening in the land of the free, the United States of America. It should be the last country that this ever happens in. And I think we need to do something. But for now, all I know that we could do is continue to support each other, follow all the patriots that you know, follow people that have similar mindsets that want to protect our Constitution and defend our civil liberties. So that's my advice for now. Help support small independent media networks like Right Side Broadcast Network. The crowd is getting excited. Looks like we're going to have an Air Force One arrival. Am I blind? Actually, I know I am. Oh, I see it. I see the lights. Just behind me right now, so our camera's not going to be able to We might have to try. We're going to try and turn this around. We're going to have to do a complete 180. So shout out to our cameraman for making this happen for you guys. Again, complete 180. We're going to watch Air Force One come in hot here in Greenville, North Carolina. While we're watching her beautiful approach, I'll finish. Don't forget, this is your time to get those donations in. The second way is by going to our website. That's www.rsbnetwork.com/donate. And you can donate via our website at www.rsbnetwork.com/donate. The third way, and a lot of people like this, is a non-electronic way. So you can send a check to 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. And those are three of the main ways you can donate. But we also have an incredible partner today. So aside from everything else I've asked you today, a million things. I'm like, follow us, support us, subscribe, comment. We have to have this, you guys. I'm sorry for asking a million times, but it's like, it's so necessary, especially as a media network. And a lot of you have already done it. But we have to continue spreading the word. We have to continue growing and fighting. And we cannot just sit idly by and let the Communist Socialist Party take over our great country. We are fighting tooth and nail, and this is the best way we know how. So thank you for your support. Thank you for donating, and hopefully your support our partners over at Disney Coins. They are a precious metals company specializing in copper and silver coins. They have 2 new designs every single month. They come in 2-ounce coins, 3-ounce coins, 1-ounce coins, 2-ounce coins, 4-ounce silver bars, keychains, you name it, they've got it. Absolutely incredible designs, all highlighting different moments from President Trump's administration. There's Melania, Conan the Hero Dog, the southern border, President Trump meeting with Kim Jong-un at the demilitarized zone. Here at RSBN, we are collecting all of them, and we hope that you will join us by collecting them as well. Make sure you tag RSBN in your photos, and we will be happy to repost them as they come. Make sure to use code RSBN at checkout as well for a percentage off your order. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing right now is the back of a man's t-shirt, but Air Force One, Air Force One is wheels down in Greenville, North Carolina. Again, Air Force One, wheels down, Greenville, North Carolina. President Trump, a busy man, but nonetheless, he is coming to see us today, and we're excited to hear what he has to say. We're almost finished up. Check them out, www.disneycoins.com. Use code RSBN at checkout, and they're doing a massive MAGA giveaway. You can enter between now and the presidential election on November 3rd. The more entries, the more coins they're giving out. So this is a perfect opportunity to get some free Christmas gifts to give away. You got some liberal friends. This will be the perfect white elephant gift to give out MAGA coins. I mean, that's actually hilarious. I just thought of it. I'm doing that to every white elephant Christmas party gift exchange that I'm going to. But again, www.disneycoins.com. Support them, support Right Side. We have to support each other. That is the only way we're going to get through this. We have to reach out to each other, connect on different levels, support each other, and we're going to get through this, you guys. We're going to get 4 more years. Jumping back into the YouTube Super Chat, 36,000 people. I want to say thank you to everyone who's tuning in. Also, a selfish plug. Please make sure you guys follow me as well. My personal accounts, I am trying to grow them. It's difficult as well. I am trying to figure out a happy medium between my personal life and politics without scaring away my friends from a previous life before I was so involved in conservative politics. But I think I do a great job of, having some common ground, and I want you guys to be there with me. So follow me, please, on Instagram. I have already lost so many from posting my job, but I know you guys can help me make up for that. Instagram is at Liz Willis, LIZWILLIS. I'm going to continue to post these rallies because it's incredible that I get to travel the country and see the President of the United States speaking. So you'll see some special behind the scenes shots there. I'm also on Twitter, trying to grow that one as well. My Twitter handle is at Liz Willis, LIZWILLIS. So those are my 2 main social media platforms, and I'm going to be posting a lot between now and November 3rd from all of my different rally campaign stops. And hopefully you guys will be able to join me on this incredible adventure covering President Trump's 2020 campaign, working hard for 4 more years. We see her right now, Air Force One taxiing up right behind us. And I actually don't see the stairs that they normally would use, so maybe they are behind the risers, but generally Air Force One will taxi right up behind the stage, so that's what we can expect. Ladies and gentlemen who are just now tuning in, it's currently 1:23 p.m. You are watching this live. We're here in Greenville, North Carolina, where President Trump's rally is scheduled to begin technically 23 minutes ago, but as you can see, we are waiting because any minute now, Air Force One will park right behind this stage. President Trump will deboard, and we're going to get going. We're going to have some rally remarks that we are excited to hear. President Trump loves North Carolina. It's evident. Of course, we have his daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, who is a North Carolina girl. Hopefully she'll be here today. She always does a great job of hyping up the crowd. She might be busy. I know the campaign. This is a crazy time for everyone, but nonetheless, a beautiful moment. Bear with me. I got to get a shot of this for my Instagram account. I know we're very, very much so live right now, but I love Air Force One. An unhealthy amount. I have yet to get tired of seeing her arrive. So we are. All right, cool. Got it, you guys. Thanks for bearing with me. Again, gonna jump into the YouTube super chat now and see what we've got going on. We are moments away. President Air Force One is parking. A gorgeous shot of Air Force One right behind the stage here today. Gonna be a good day for our cameraman. I think he enjoys those optics. He's great with lighting and just making sure that shot is angled up perfectly. The crowd is already chanting. We've got USA chants happening right now. 39,000 people watching. So thank you all for tuning in. This is free for you guys to watch. Why not share it? The steps are coming. Normally they have these steps kind of parked prior to Air Force One landing. So I was worried they wouldn't be parking Air Force One, but looks like they're lining them up right now. They're gonna, for those of you who are tuning in, they're gonna deboard right from left. So back door is gonna be the staff, the press pool, etc. The campaign staffers, White House staffers, press pool. They're going to get off first. And then finally, they are going to move to the front door. That is where President Trump will disembark Air Force One. And that is when the rally is really going to get exciting because, let's see, I think God Bless the USA is going to be playing. He's going to be excited. He's going to take that stage. And he'll conclude with YMCA. So maybe we'll get some of those dances everyone's enjoying lately, but we will see. Again, we are just seconds away. RSBN, for those of you who have just found us, we always get new viewers, but we are going to live stream this in its entirety. We're not going to cut out. You don't have to worry about talking heads talking over President Trump or analyzing it while he's speaking. Really no need for us to do that. You guys have brains, and I'm pretty sure you can figure out for yourselves whether or not you liked his message. So we are going to point our cameras as soon as that man opens up the door. I'm going to step aside, and we are going to have from the audio box. You're going to hear President Trump's speech in its entirety. This is something that mainstream media, for some reason, can't grasp the concept of doing, but that's fine. More viewers for us. So hopefully you guys enjoy that here with us today. Let's see if we've gotten our Instagram follower count up yet. I'll check it in just a minute. But we're definitely getting that viewership count up. Hopefully, let's say our goal is going to be 60. No, we'll do 50,000. It's middle of the day. I want to get at least 50,000 concurrent viewers today. So make sure you're sharing the stream. If you don't mind copying and pasting the stream on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your Instagram, wherever you can link it. Let's get this out there. Help us plug it. You guys are social media warriors, whether you know it or not. You have a platform, you have a presence, and you can use it. That's something I've been learning over the past few years. I think, it doesn't matter. I don't have that many followers, but it does matter. If we can change one person, if we can get one person to go to the polling booths on November 3rd or for early voting, we are making a difference. You guys can help us make a difference. So thank you for being there. Don't forget, let's get those, we are going to check for those donations and see what's rolling in right now. We're already at 42,000. So actually, these are great numbers, really exciting numbers to have here today, especially a middle of the day rally. We have $20 who said from Dan Johnson. He said, "What a great job you have, Liz. Thanks to you, RSBN, and all Law and Order American patriots. We are truly on the right side. On the right side, Dan and Buddy Johnson." I know, I have the best job in the world, and I have it for what, 2 more weeks? I'm heartbroken. I'm literally gonna cry when I don't get to see President Trump every day, and when I don't have Joe Steele as my boss. I've already told him I'm gonna miss that. But let's see, maybe we can make an immediate empire out of this and keep going for 4 more years covering his events in the White House. That would be a dream come true. $20 from Karen Saffron, so thank you very much. Michael Fuller said Liz is a peach. Thanks to all of you at RSBA, and Andy Wentz donated $4.99. $4.99 from Mike Cabana. Oh, I could use a cabana right now. So thank you, RSBN. First Trump 2020, and then time to turn California red again. Absolutely. We've already read that one. $49.99 from Patricia Driver. Said this is an awesome site. Sick of the news channels. Thank you, Patricia, and what a beautiful name. My mother and my sister have that name. Another $19.99 from Mike Havana. Lucy Martinez donated $20. So thank you so much, Lucy. Easy Brigda, 50 euros. And the Donald Discord again. So thank you guys for your donations. And for 45,000 people watching, we are thrilled to have you guys. I'm personally thrilled. I was telling our CEO, Joe Seals, earlier, I was like, I'm nervous. It's a 1 p.m. rally. What if nobody tunes in? You guys, I don't know why I ever doubt this. You guys are rock stars. You help us to shatter goals, accomplish dreams, and continue to make this the best country in the world. So it looks like the press pool and the staff has disembarked. The front door is open. I'm sure the camera, I can't see what you guys can see, but most likely is fixed on that shot, and we are waiting. The military honors are waiting at the bottom of the steps where they will wait for President Trump, and we're just going to wait here with you guys. So you guys have truly the best seat in the House. The people standing on the ground probably don't even know what they're looking at besides the back of someone else's head. So those with the camera, you guys are lucky behind the computer screens. Let's see how many we have. My phone is frozen, so maybe that's a good sign. Hope it's a good sign. It's super frozen, you guys. Bear with me. In the meantime, one last shout out. Gotta say, Disney Coins, they've been incredible. Our partner, Precious Metals, they do coins, silver, copper, all different sizes, all different designs. www.disneycoins.com. Enter their giveaway too. There's a giveaways tab. It's completely free. www.disneycoins.com. They want to give away thousands of coins. They pay for shipping too, so check it out. And get your donations in for Right Side Broadcasting Network. While we're waiting for POTUS, check out our website, www.rsbnetwork.com/donate. We are almost entirely viewer funded. We do not have large investors. We don't have stockholders. We have nothing. He's going to be on this one.
That looks like him right there.
He's not going to enter that way. Promise.
Okay.
You see the left has the presidential seal.
Oh, gotcha.
So right there, you can see the presidential seal on the left door. 2 sets of stairs, but maybe finishing up some work, checking out his YouTube to look up RSB Network and see how many people are out here. He's getting a good shot of Air Force One right now. So President Trump, if you're watching this right now, checking out that huge crowd size, today would be a great day for you to give Right Side Broadcasting Network a shout out. We work very hard for you. And despite all the money in the world, I think the one thing we want most is a shout out from President Trump during a rally. When you say those cameras don't pan the crowds, sir, there is one camera that always does pan these crowds. It's our specialty. It's RSBN. We respect you so much, and we are going to continue to pan these crowds. And if you want to talk to that White House Correspondents Association and get us a press pass, that would be cool too. I mean, if we're just asking for favors at this point, I'd also really like to ride on Air Force One, but I'm done with my list of demands now. You can continue to do your thing. All right, 40, let's see. We are seconds away from President Trump disembarking Air Force One. We have 49,000 viewers watching right now. It is 1:33 p.m. Eastern time, almost at 50,000, which was my goal for the day. So thrilled to have 50,000 people watching. Most likely that's going to be more than any other of the mainstream media outlets combined. If you don't believe me, look it out on their YouTube channels. We are the best, and we take a lot of pride in that. We have worked so unbelievably hard. At times, we'd only even be able to send one cameraman, and that's it. One camera, one cameraman, but we work so hard to get you the angles, the shots, the commentary, and start to finish. We're not just going to turn it on when he takes the stage, but you can also see the crowd, hours before, and see that they continue to stand and see their excitement, the children they bring in, and the groups of families that come together to show their support.
The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you. Let's see. It's 1:30. This is a hell of a crowd for 1:30 in the afternoon. Thank you. Great state. It's fantastic to be back in North Carolina with thousands of loyal, hardworking American patriots. 19 days from now. Think of that. 19 days. You believe this? We're going to win the state of North Carolina. We're going to win. This election is a simple choice. If Biden wins, China wins. You see what's going on? And when we win, North Carolina wins and America wins. It's very simple. For the last 47 years, Joe Biden's betrayed the workers of North Carolina through one act of economic treachery after another, and now you see what's happening. They got caught stealing, folks. Biden's a servant of the wealthy donors and globalists and special interests who got rich, bleeding America dry, taking your jobs from North Carolina and every other place and moving them out of the country, and we turned it around. You got to remember that. These corrupt forces, they don't see our nation as a protector of its citizens, but as a vehicle for personal profit and power at your expense. And you see it happening right now. They hold everyone in contempt, and they always put the American worker last. And that's what's happened until I came along. In fact, it's the primary reason I came along, if you think about it. They keep their jobs while outsourcing your jobs to other countries that you've never even heard about. They build walls for themselves while forcing your family to suffer the consequences of illegal immigration, drugs, and crime. And you know it very well over here. For 5 decades, Joe Biden shipped away your jobs, shut down your factories, threw open your borders, and ravaged our cities while sacrificing American blood and treasure in endless foreign wars. And you know, they're all coming back. They're almost back. Our great soldiers. Our great soldiers. Countries you never even heard about. He's the embodiment of the political class that enriched itself while draining the economic life and soul out of our country. Yesterday, we learned from newly released emails, and I want to thank the New York Post for showing real bravery, that Joe Biden has been blatantly lying about his involvement in his son's corrupt business dealings. Joe Biden is a corrupt politician, and he has been corrupt for many years, and everybody in Washington knew it. And just now, a little while ago, a news story shows up that Hunter made a deal with a wealthy Chinese business magnate for $10 million a year for introductions only. Introductions. I don't know. Will you take $10 million a year to introduce people? Yeah, to introduce Dad. Dad, say hello. And by the way, Dad, give them everything they want. Okay? Give them everything they want, Dad. Hunter also referred to another more lasting and lucrative arrangement with the same Chinese businessman that would be so much more interesting to me and my family. That's what he said. That's a quote. These deals were made at the same time Joe Biden was letting China steal your jobs and take away your factories. If Biden is elected, the United States will be owned by China. But we don't have to worry about it because I can't believe it's going to happen. He's shot, just so we understand. We cannot have a leader that's just about half shot. Can we believe we're even fighting against this guy? But you know what? They're a powerful party. They're a very corrupt party. They are in bed with the media, the fake news right back there. And totally protected by big tech. If I said what he said, they'd be calling for me out of there in 24 hours. What this guy has said, 2 days ago, he said, I'm running for the United States Senate. That's the third time he said, I'm running for the... Now, that's not, look, that's not like a regular, mistake. You can make mistakes. He said that, and he said other things, but we won't even get into it. This is crazy. This is the craziest race. You know what? I'm running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics. And if I lose, it puts more pressure. I wish he was good. I'd have less pressure. You know, I mean, how do you lose to a guy like this? How do you lose to a guy like this? Ay, ay, ay. And by the way, we're leading in North Carolina. Poll just came out. I think we're leading everywhere where people are intelligent, actually. And we just got to report the lines are through the roof on areas that would more typically vote for us. I'm trying to be diplomatic when I say that. Thank you. But this election is a matter of national security. It really is. We can't let this happen. It's a matter of national security. The Bidens got rich while America got robbed. Now big tech, you see what's going on with big tech, is censoring these stories to try and get Biden out of this impossible jam. He's in a big jam. You know, his son left his laptop at some place, fixed my laptop. He forgot to pick it up. The guy from the laptop, it looks like he saw it. He said, wow, this is really criminal stuff. He brought it to the FBI. Can you believe this? This could only happen to me and the people of North Carolina, though. This could only happen to us. Can you imagine he's fixing a laptop? He says, this is really bad stuff. I think I'll bring it into law enforcement. Anyway, they've got it. They've got a lot of them. I hear they have stuff coming out you won't even believe. Yeah, you'll believe it. He and his family are crooked, and they were caught. They got caught. Now they're being protected by big tech. And if big tech persists in coordination with the mainstream media, we must immediately strip them of their Section 230 protection. Okay, it's very simple. And we all believe in freedom of the press, but don't forget, big tech got something years ago that let them become big tech. They got total protection. They don't get sued. They don't get anything. They're totally protected. So the government gave that. So that takes away that little feeling that, oh, gee, we can't talk to them about freedom of the press, etc. No, we're going to take away their Section 230 unless they shape up. And believe it or not, even the Democrats agree. Of course, the only problem we have when they say that we're against, it's like the wall. You know, we're building the wall. It's going up. It was so hard. It was so hard getting that done. There was very few people could have gotten that done. We're up over 400 miles, but here's what's happened. I just think back. All I had to say is we will not build the wall. They would have given me so much money. I had to say we were building it, but we got it going, and we have the safest southern border we've ever had, so that's all. In 2016, North Carolina voted to fire this corrupt and decrepit political establishment, and you elected an outsider as president of the United States who put America first. And we've done a job. We've done a great job, and it's been amazing. And our comeback, you know, nobody's ever done anything like what we did, and then we got hit by the China plague. Shouldn't have let it happen. And we're now coming back at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Nobody thought it was possible. They thought we'd be at 42% unemployment. We just hit 7.8%. Can you believe it? And we were at 3.5%. I even went to North Carolina. I needed a good chief of staff. I said, where is he? Where's Mark Meadows? Where's Mark? Where's Mark? Come here, Mark. Come here. Can you imagine? I had to go to North Carolina to find my chief of staff. He's great. No, he's done a great job. He's done a great job. And he followed me, and I said, you know what? I just tested positive. He didn't care. He was in that helicopter. Hey, he's from North Carolina. What can I say? He's great. Doing a great job. You elected me to restore the principle that's a nation's first duty, and it's to its own citizens. We're about our country, right? I'm president of our country. We're not president of the world. We're not president of the world. USA. So if I don't sound like a typical Washington politician, it's because I'm not a politician. And if I don't always seem to be playing by the rules of the Washington establishment, it's because I was elected to fight for you harder than any other president has ever fought for our country's people. And right now I'm fighting to eradicate the virus, and we're doing really a good job. We're rounding the turn. You see what's going on in Europe? It's flaming up. These characters back there that say, well, look at Europe. Well, I'll tell you what, go take a look. Go take a look. No, we're doing a great job. We're doing a great job. They didn't give the credit. I don't want the credit, but our vice president worked 24 hours a day. Mike Pence. And we had a lot of governors. They worked with us, but we had some that were really good and some that were really not so good. I'll let you know. One day I'll write a little book and I'll tell you who the good ones were. We made a lot of people look good. We've done a great job, and we have some incredible statistics. But we want to rebuild the economy, and that's happening quickly. We have the greatest economy we've ever had. Think of it. Now, we closed it down. We saved 2 million lives by closing it down. We closed it down, and now we're building it back up. And by the way, North Carolina, tell your governor, open up your state, open up your schools. Right? They'll announce on November 4th, ladies and gentlemen, we're opening up North Carolina. And by the way, Pennsylvania, you know, we've been suing a lot of states that are run by Democrats, right? I always call them high crime. But the fact is, that's where the crime is. But, you know, we've been suing a lot of people, and we just won in Michigan against what she did was terrible. I mean, she did. It's like a prison warden. And so Michigan, we won on constitutional basis. They have to open it up. You got to open this one up. I mean, the people want to get back. The kids want to be back in school. 99.9%. Like you heard yesterday, announced, you know, my Baron, my tall Baron. He's very tall. My beautiful Baron, handsome. He is handsome. But my beautiful Baron had it. He recovered like so fast. I said, wait a minute. How long did that take? They have the strongest immune systems. They're better than all of us. That's what they are. They're kids for some reason. But we've learned about this disease. You got to open up your businesses, open up your schools, get it going. We have incredible therapeutics. We have incredible drugs. We have, in my opinion, a cure because I took something Regeneron. It was, you know, highly sophisticated stuff. The antibodies, and Eli Lilly makes an incredible drug. And what we've done is incredible. This has all been over the last 6 months. It's all happened. We got the FDA for fast approvals. They would have taken years and years, and they're doing it. They came to me and went, sir, this will take approximately 2 years. I said, nope, I need it approved tomorrow. They said, that's not good. We got it, sir. We got it. But this is the most important election in the history of our country. Joe Biden has made a corrupt bargain in exchange for his party's nomination. He has handed control of the socialists. I mean, he's given control of this party, the Democrats. They used to be like normal people. Now they're socialists, Marxists, communists. That's right. You said it. I didn't say it. Communists. And some people would say far left lunatics. Look at the Green New Deal. Well, don't clap too hard. Go out and vote. We'll clap later. Because these people are crazy. If he wins, the radical left will be running the country because they're addicted to power, and God help us if they win. We won't have our country anymore, and it'll never be able to come back. They never do. You know, if you look 20 years ago, Venezuela had oil, had wealth, had the less than 20 years ago, had everything. Now they don't have water. They don't have food. They don't have medicine. They have nothing but killing all over their streets. This happened in a short period of time, and it's the same ideology. You see it. The Democrat Party talks about decency and decorum while they demonize cancel. You know the word cancel, right? They want to cancel your culture and persecute anyone who refuses to bend to their will. I don't think they like me too much, do they? They don't like me too much. Thank you. That's really an honor. That's an honor. You know why? Because those words, nobody has ever heard them at a political event. I like Ronald Reagan. And they'd say, we like you, Ronald Reagan, but nobody's ever heard those words, right? We love you. No, seriously, what politician has ever heard those words? I've never said those words. And that happens, and I consider that a great honor, and thank you very much. But the Democrats smear decent Americans as racist, slander our nation as evil, indoctrinate our children, and incite anti-American riots on our streets that we could control in 25 minutes, as we did in Minneapolis, as we do wherever we go, but they have to invite us in. By law, they have to invite us in. We want to go to Portland so bad. That one would take 15 minutes to set. 15 minutes. And the man that shot another innocent man, this was an innocent man shot, killed, instantly killed. I said, what happened? Well, we haven't arrested him 2 days, 3 days went by. We sent in the U.S. Marshals. Took 15 minutes, it was over. Killed instantly. 15 minutes, it was over. We got him. They knew who he was. They didn't want to arrest him. And 15 minutes, that ended. Anyway, and they call themselves peaceful protesters. You know, in theory, we're not supposed to be. And look at all the masks. You know, they keep saying nobody wears masks. Wear the masks. Although then they come out with things today. Did you see CDC? That 85% of the people wearing the mask catch it, okay? Then you have my friend, and he's a nice guy, Tony Fauci. He's a nice guy. He said, this is not a threat. This is not a problem. Don't worry about this. No one's a problem. It's the craziest thing. Then he said, do not wear a mask. Do not wear a mask under any circumstances. Don't wear a mask. Don't, right? So we don't wear a mask. Then they say, oh, wear a mask. I never saw it. Do you ever see any conflicts? But he's a nice guy, so I keep him around, right? We'll keep him around. He's a Democrat. Everybody knows that. He's Cuomo's friend. Cuomo did the worst job of any governor in the United States. Almost 40,000 people died, more. And 11,000 at least. And, you know, I gave him this big convention center, 2,800 beds. He didn't use it. I gave him a ship. I gave him the great hospital ship, meant for wars. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of incredible, you have to see the ship. I've been on it many times. It's incredible. They didn't use it. Instead, they sent sick people back into nursing homes, right? It's a disgrace. The Democrat Party is ashamed of America. The Republican Party is proud of America. And that's a big difference. Big difference. USA, 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 USA. So, you know, I'm being set up tonight, right? So I'm doing this town hall with Concast, C-O-N, right? Con, because it's a con job, Concast, C-O-N, not C-O-M, C-O-N, cast. So I'm doing it, and it's NBC, the worst, home of Sleepy Eyes, Chuck Todd, and some others. And they gave Lester Holt, he's a beauty. They gave Joe Biden a week ago a town hall, and it was meant for children. In fact, speaking of Barron Trump, fully recovered in like a record time. Barron Trump would do great on that show because he's a young child. They asked him questions that a child could answer, any child. A smart child, not such a smart child. And they got taken apart. You know, it was a joke. It was a joke. And so they asked me if I do it, and I figured, what the hell, we get a free hour on television. And we have Savannah Guthrie. She's always lovely, isn't she? But I figure, why not? What's the difference in tone between what they did to this guy that can't put two sentences together and what they do to me? But with me, it's our life. We know what we're doing, and we just go on and we do it. But they're doing him on ABC. And actually, I'd like to watch him because I want to see if he can make it through the program. And honestly, they'll be so soft. George Stephanopoulos, I did him a couple of weeks ago, was fine. His questions were unfair. They said that the audience is neutral. Turned it out that they only had never Trumpers in there, but these are minor, little minor facts. Well, that happened with the other guy too. It was supposed to be neutral. It turned out that they were all like big Democrats, right? Big Democrats. Because you know what? The fake news media is corrupt, okay? It's corrupt. And we've shown it so many times. So I'll see you later on NBC. I look forward to it. We're going to be doing it from Miami, where we're doing very well in Florida, too, by the way. We just got numbers back. Doing very well. And the senior citizens are liking us, I think, more and more every day. Every day they see what we're doing, every single day. But we're going to be doing that from Florida. So you watch tonight, if you want to have a little entertainment, watch. Let's just see. I just want to see the tone of the way they treated this character and the way they treat us. It's not me, it's us. The way they treat us. So the candidate whose supporters are burning American flags And I say all the time, let's put in some kind of a major resolution. You burn an American flag, you spend 1 year in jail. Do it. See, that's where the politicians are weak. That's the politicians could do this. That's where they're weak, the politicians. And you know, I think it lost 5-4 in the Supreme Court. Now we have a different Supreme Court. Hey, by the way, can you imagine? We're going to have 3 in one term, which is a record. A record. Term, 2 terms, without ever having to pick a Supreme Court. I have 3 in the first term. Their heads are exploding. These people can't believe it. You know what? Our friends over here, they can't believe what's happening, I'll tell you. But we have 3, and how good is Amy? How good is Amy? Right? It's happening. They said, he should not be able to do this. I said, why? I'm in my 4th year. He should not be allowed to do it. But then they have a quote from Justice Ginsburg talking about, I guess it was Obama, right? That, well, wait a minute, he's elected for 4 years. He's not elected for 3 years. That didn't help them. You know, that didn't help their cause. No, we got it done. It looks like it's going to be done very soon. They have a 1-week period where they sit, but they're getting out of committee. And it's very exciting. And I'll tell you what, she's been flawless. She hasn't made a mistake. She's toying with those Democrat evil people. They're evil. The way they treated Justice Kavanaugh was one of the greatest disgraces. I've never seen anything like it. And I've watched a lot of unfair things. I get treated that way all the time, okay? But I want to tell you, I've never seen anything like it, the way they went after Justice Kavanaugh. With false accusations and everything else, it's a disgrace. But they're not playing that card here. They're not playing that card. At least so far, they're not. But we'll be watching very closely. But she's been spectacular. She's getting rave reviews. She's a great intellect. Her professor, who was a great professor many years, said the single greatest student that he's ever had. That meant something to me. You know, it's always nice. As long as you're doing it, you might as well put smart people. Now they'll say he discriminates. He discriminates against others. Now, I'd like to have smart people on the Supreme Court. And she's been great. But the candidate whose supporters are tearing down our statues is not going to deliver any civility. And by the way, we solve every problem. And these are Democrat, radical left usually, but Democrat areas that are having these high crimes. The Republicans are doing fantastically well. Remember it. No cash bail. They do things that nobody could even conceive of. And they're out of control. But you know what's going to bring it all together? Success. Because we were bringing it all together. Before the plague came in from China, it should never happened. They shouldn't have let it happen. They let it happen. We're not forgetting. They'll pay for it. But before the plague came in from China, well, Biden's not going to make them pay. No, he's going to get cash. They pay his son a lot of money. What's he going to do? Say, hey, you know, you shouldn't do this? And that's true. That's like common sense. Look at the money they've taken out of China. I'll tell you what, he really is. He's a corrupt politician. Just remember it. And I'm going to say it more and more. And Facebook and all can try and shut us down. But you know what? Everybody knows it. You don't have a kid who gets thrown out of the military, hasn't got a job for a long time. His father becomes a vice president. And now this kid's going into every country, walking away with millions of dollars from every country with no talent, no